I got text messages that I done showed to my girl when she wasn't even here.
You don't never come over.
I don't have to come over there at 10 o'clock at night and watch a movie with you to be there for him.
Okay, so I be at work too. No, I wasn't.
Yeah,
Why would I want another one by you and you don't even...
I didn't know that it was going to be this big. I just want to know, who is my father for real? But he's still going to walk me down this aisle in January. But I haven't opened up to my fiance the way I should, because I don't know who I am inside no more.
Have you ever seen a gangster go crazy on paternity court? Well, today's court case will surprise you. Ms. McDaniels appears before Judge Lauren to prove to her husband that he's the biological father of their kids. However, the defendant, Mr. Wells, does not believe he fathered the kids in question and claims to have substantial proof to back his claims. Let's find out if his so-called proof will be enough to confirm paternity.
Daniel, you opened your case today in hopes of salvaging your marriage with the defendant. You claim you two have suffered a great loss and should be grieving, but instead, due to rumors, your husband is denying your 2-year-old daughter, Ava Wells, and...
Tragically, the couple lost a child just a few months before the court appearance, but they are in court today about their remaining kids? What reasons has the plaintiff given her husband to doubt paternity? Or is he just being paranoid and insensitive? Whatever the answers to these questions are, we will find out soon enough.
It's destroying us. Like, we don't need to go through this because we just lost a son 6 months ago and we need to be grieving with each other. And for him to deny my kids, it's destroying us even more. We barely talk to each other. We sit in separate rooms. You know, we don't do what marriage people are.
Due to the fact that they are grieving, you would expect the defendant to have substantial reasons for doubting paternity. But no, he had to believe the rumors he's been hearing. What's more absurd is the source of the rumors.
But Your Honor, I heard rumors that she was cheating on me. Now I'm grieving too, we both lost a son. But it's just the rumors and everything that I can't deal with it no more.
How long have you been hearing rumors?
I've heard them since the first one was born, the one we lost.
After hearing the rumors, Mr. Wells claims he didn't believe them at first. However, after a while, his wife gave him reasons to believe that she could be cheating on him. As you would expect, the plaintiff tries to defend herself.
To suspect?
At first I didn't, no.
At first?
Nah, cause she's a good woman, only time I don't see her was when she would be at work, so I don't know what she's doing there, but at home.
And so, okay, well then let me ask you this. If you've got a good woman that you don't have any questions about, you trust her, she only goes to work, she comes back home, she's a good wife.
Now we're getting a clearer picture of why the defendant is doubting his children's paternity. But what makes things more interesting is what happened one night they went to the club together. Believe me when I say this. If you were in his shoes, you would smell something fishy too. Even though the incident happened before they started having kids or got married, you can understand why his mind went back there after the so-called rumors surfaced.
Your wife has been unfaithful to you.
Yeah, yes.
You do. And that's why you question paternity.
But he might be thinking of this time we went to a club, and this is another reason he probably, don't think it's his kids.
What's more is that Mr. Wells claims that his older kid looks nothing like him, and that makes him doubt paternity more. But is that enough for him to talk to the child in question in a crazy way? Oh yes, he did. And you wouldn't believe what he said to the innocent child if I told you. He literally went gangster mode on her.
How does this fuel your doubt about Ava?
The rumors, and then she doesn't look like me. All of my kids, they all favor me in some way,
He has told my daughter, I'm not your daddy, go find your daddy.
What?
I did not say that.
Mr. Wells.
Moving on to the younger child, it would be interesting to know why he doubts his paternity too. And here is where it gets even more interesting. Apparently, Mr. Wells only signed one of his alleged children's birth certificates. Now, why did he do that? Let's find out together.
I have this, Your Honor.
Jerome, will you hand me that, please? And what is this, Mr. Wells?
That is the birth certificate. As you can clearly see, I'm labeled as Ava's father. I'm not on the birth certificate of him.
But you two were married at the time.
Yes, and he was there for the delivery. He was the only one in the delivery room.
Just when you think you've heard it all, the defendant saved the best past of his testimony for later. He claims his alleged son was fathered by a white man because he's too light-skinned to be fathered by a colored man like him. Also, he makes some hilarious comments about the shape of his head, and even he came to court with an exhibit to back his allegations.
I believe he was fathered by a white man.
He's too light for one. The ginger hair, and then the way his head is shaped.
The shape of his head?
Yeah.
And you brought an exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
Please step over to your exhibit and
Okay. And what I'm showing Your Honor.
Due to the physical attributes Mr. Wells stated, he believes his alleged children's aren't his. But the question is this: is that enough for him to doubt paternity, given that they could have the shape of their mom's head too? Nah, it's not enough. We can only determine if he's their biological father or not once the results are ready.
Ms. McDaniel, do you have a roller coaster head?
No, Your Honor. I don't think so.
You have decided that this physical attribute, you say, your other children possess.
Yes, ma'am.
But how many other children do you have?
I have.
There's a lot at stake in this court case because the outcome of the DNA tests would determine if the married couple will continue together or not. Could Mr. Wells be right about his doubts, or is he wrong and owes his wife an apology? The only way we can get answers is by hearing Judge Lake read out the test results. So let's get to it.
Mr. Wells, you are the father. You look relieved.
I am very relieved.
Second result. Mr. Wells, you are the father.
Initially, he was overjoyed to know that he could potentially become a father in a few months when his woman told him she was pregnant. But you can understand why the gangster in him surfaced when she told him another man could be the child's biological father. So he's in court today as the plaintiff to prove that the child in question is his daughter biologically. Now, which way will the result go? Let's find out together.
Mr. Ahmad, you say you were overjoyed to be a father after the birth of your first child, 22-month-old Nevaeh. However, you claim that you were crushed when the defendant later told you another man could be her dad.
Mr. Ahmad explains to the court his reasons for taking this case at hand very seriously. And hearing his statement, it would be unfair if the test result doesn't go his way. He seems calm right now, but like a ticking bomb, he could go off any moment.
To be my first child, so I was overjoyed. She was high risk, so she couldn't work. So what I did, I tried to do as best as a man that I could do.
And you all were in what kind of relationship? Committed, or were you just casual friends, or what?
Boyfriend and girlfriend.
Boyfriend and girlfriend, okay.
Ms. Day claims she told the plaintiff the truth from the beginning. What truth? Does she mean she told him she's been sleeping with someone else besides him from the onset? Are they in an open relationship, or what does she mean? Well, let's her side of the story.
I told him the truth from the beginning, that she might not be his, and he said he wanted to be her father and he would be there for us.
Talk to me about the relationship from your point of view.
It was more of a friendship for me. I loved Mr. Ahmad, but I wasn't in love with him.
Apparently, Mr. Ahmad misunderstood what his relationship with Ms. Day was all about. And another thing is this: there is a dispute about whether or not she told him the child was his after she found out she was pregnant. Right now, it's really hard to pinpoint what is and what's not. But one thing is certain: we're getting to the bottom of the paternity dispute today.
How I found out she was pregnant, she came one morning and knocked on my window and said, "Well, I need to talk to you." And she says, "Well, I'm pregnant and this is your child."
No, I didn't say she was yours. I said she might be yours and she might not.
As it turns out, the plaintiff hasn't been as gentle as he has been pretending to be all day, and his true character was uncovered by the defendant. He's got this crazy gangster side that comes out to play late in the night.
Every day. We argued so much, I never lived with him. Like, he would, when I spent the night, some nights he would kick me out at 2 in the morning.
Why are you so upset now? Because you feel...
I just feel like he trying to make me seem like a bad person when
No,
he
ma'am.
know that
No,
I
ma'am.
told him this might not
No,
be his
ma'am.
baby.
Now, to really understand the nature of the relationship between Mr. Ahmad and Ms. Day, we need to know if he was there for the child's delivery. With this knowledge, we might be able to determine if there's indeed another man in the picture. But the role plaintiff played during the pregnancy and after the child was born would make you question the defendant's claims. If she actually told him he isn't responsible for the baby, then she wouldn't have allowed him take so much responsibility.
Present, Mr. Ahmad?
I was present the entire time she was pregnant. I cut the umbilical cord. I signed the birth certificate. After the baby was born, we left the hospital. Matter of fact, her mother picked me up to go have when the baby was being delivered. Her own mother.
For more clarity, The court contacted the hospital the baby was born, and you couldn't have guessed what was discovered. As it turns out, some truth was withheld in the testimony given about the birth certificate. Now, who's lying between the plaintiff and the defendant, and why did he or she lie?
Actually, contacted the hospital because we wanted to find out what the protocol was for the execution of birth certificates. And per the hospital where Nevaeh was born, the procedure is when they admit a mother of a child into the maternity ward.
Here is where it gets more interesting. The defendant claims she never had sexual relations with other men besides the plaintiff. Then that should solve the case, shouldn't it? It should, but that wasn't all she said.
Like, I was unaware that he signed my baby's birth certificate.
Basically, all this is like, it's disheartening for somebody to like demean you. It hurts for some of the words that she's saying.
I wasn't in a relationship with him, but I never messed with another man while I was sexually involved with Mr. Ahmad. This is something that happened before I was sexually involved.
Ms. Day is hell-bent on the fact that she never led Mr. Ahmad on to believe that the child is his biological daughter. But everything we've discovered all day is making us think otherwise. What's more is that the court did some investigation on the defendant's social media, and what was discovered makes the situation more interesting.
Did a little investigation of your social media, and we found some very interesting posts. Now, this is Mr. Ahmad, am I correct?
Yes.
It says, "Happy Father's Day to my child's father. Even though she's not here yet, he's already amazing."
At this stage of the hearing, it only makes sense if the other possible father tells his side of the story. As it appears, the other man, Mr. Flowers, is aware that his alleged daughter has another potential father. And like him, he took the DNA test too.
Has Miss Day explained to you that Mr. Ahmad is on the birth certificate and he was also told that he was Nevaeh's biological father?
Yes, ma'am.
So what was your relationship like with Miss Day?
Everything been cool all the way up to this baby situation occurred.
This whole situation sounds like Miss Day is playing both sides, and her actions has made the entire case really awkward. Right now, the only way we can get to the root of this matter is by hearing the test results.
Is the biological father of 22-month-old Nevaeh Ahmad? It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Flowers.
We've seen a few gangsters go crazy on paternity court, but believe me when I tell you this, you haven't seen any like this. Ms. Kingsbury and Mr. James had plans before their baby was born, but things changed after the child's birth. Now the defendant claims he didn't father the baby and he's in court today to cement his claims. Well, Mr. James, taking the DNA test is the best way to cement your claims.
Miss Kingsbury, you say you were in a romantic relationship with the defendant, Mr. James, and planned to have a child together, but when your 11-month-old son, Chance, was born, Mr. James turned on you and began to deny paternity. You are here to prove, Mr. James.
Apparently, it was a joint agreement between the lovers that they should have a child together. So why did Mr. James change his mind along the way? Because you don't make such plans with someone and simply wake up one morning and throw it all in the bin. No, that's not possible.
At first, yes, we did plan to have a baby. At first, in relationship, it was fun, adventurous. I think I could count on her. She was supportive. That was the nature of a relationship at first.
So what are you trying to say, that we weren't in a relationship, we didn't have love for each other?
Now we understand why the defendant changed his mind about the plans he had with the plaintiff. But is that really enough for him to doubt paternity? Nah, it's not. Perhaps there are more reasons why he thinks the child isn't his. Well, let's hear him state then if there's more.
Yes, I heard rumors. Like my friends that stay in the neighborhood, they used to tell me that she used to get out cars with her. Wherever means these are, I don't know, her co-workers or like what you just explained her. No.
He ain't never witnessed me get out of no car with nobody. Now the time that we were together.
Okay, we get that Mr. James stopped trusting his girlfriend when he discovered her lies, but what has that got to do with the paternity issue? Because from his statements, he clearly didn't catch her cheating.
Mistrust can lead to somebody cheating, and also if you lie, that can also lead to different like session or whatever, different sequence of your life that you can do those type of things.
So now, Miss Kingsbury, lying? He's saying that now you've started a pattern of lying. Is that true?
There's something fishy about the defendant. He's trying too hard to make it look like the plaintiff is guilty of cheating, whereas he should be the one under a microscope. You couldn't have guessed what he did. Let's find out together.
I want to find out what happened when she told you she was pregnant. You weren't excited about the news?
I was asleep. I was working. I was tired.
No, he wasn't worried about my pregnancy because he was busy getting someone else pregnant.
I was working.
So wait a minute.
Whoa! So Mr. James got someone else pregnant while Miss Kingsbury was pregnant. Oh, that wasn't all he did. He went gangster crazy on the plaintiff by rubbing it on her face.
Mr. James, now you know you're wrong. Why get in your car and yell something out like that?
If I would have told her straight up,
but
she would have did something to me or whatever. She would have did something to my car, or she would have probably hit me.
Here comes the interesting part. The defendant was at the hospital when the baby was born, and he did everything he was meant to do as his potential father. However, he discovered something that could affirm his claims of not being the child's biological father.
My doubts, as a person, I believe in God, whatever like that. I believe as a man,
the doubt is
responsibility.
At what point do you really have real doubt that this child is yours?
I think when he was like 2 months.
Okay, Chance was born with the sickle cell trait.
Yes.
The sickle cell.
Now, let's talk about some evidence.
Even though the baby has sickle cell traits, that's not enough to jump into any conclusions just yet. So, for more clarity, the court invited a medical expert, and the things we're made to understand makes the situation more awkward.
I want to know from you, how is the sickle cell gene passed to a child from a parent?
Okay, the genes for sickle cell disease are very simple. You get a gene for hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the red stuff in the red blood cell, and that's sickle cell disease is a problem with hemoglobin.
The thing is this, neither Mr. James nor Ms. Kingsbury has been tested for sickle cell, so we can't tell if any of them is a carrier or not. This knowledge would have made the case more straightforward. However, we all know the one thing that can get things resolved, and that's the DNA test result. So let's get to it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are the father. That's your beautiful little boy. How do you feel? It feels good to know for sure. You don't have to apologize. What are you feeling in this moment, Miss Kingsbury?
Today's case is one of the few times gangsters go crazy on paternity court. Ms. Davis is suing Mr. Gilbert to prove that he fathered her son. What's more is this. The plaintiff believes the defendant is doubting paternity because someone close to him planted the doubts in his mind. Is the defendant right for having these so-called doubts? Let's find out together.
Convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt Mr. Gilbert is your son, Corey's father. You feel the only reason Mr. Gilbert is denying paternity is because he has been brainwashed and manipulated by his meddling sister. Is that correct?
According to the plaintiff, herself and the defendant planned to have a baby together. But then came family drama after the baby was born. As a result, Mr. Gilbert couldn't follow through with the plans he had with her anymore, and here we are.
Explain.
We planted this baby, and then when I got pregnant, he was there, and it's like when he told his family I was pregnant, that's when they turned against me, and they had put in his mind that he's not the father of my son.
You were in a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the relationship.
Now it's time to hear the defendant's side of the story. The young man didn't dispute the fact that he and the plaintiff had a baby together. However, he claims he doubts paternity due to some reasons he's ready to share with the court.
Did you tell her you want to have a baby?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why doubt the baby?
Because it's like the friends she hang out with, I don't agree with them. None of them.
So it made you feel like birds of a feather may flock together?
Now, based on her boyfriend's claims about her keeping bad friends, Ms. Davis defends herself. The question is this: didn't Mr. Gilbert know who the plaintiff's friends were before agreeing to making a baby with her? Well, that's by the way. You wouldn't believe how long they were together before they decided to make a baby.
But I'm my own person. I'm my own person. I know who I want.
So you admit that your friends are kind of out there, Ms. Davis, but you say that you aren't? So I don't understand how this beautiful relationship went wrong to the point where now 7-month-old baby's paternity.
When he met me. He knew that I was friends with them when he met me. He been knew about them.
How long were you together before you got pregnant?
4 months.
Judging her about the kind of friends she keeps isn't enough for you to doubt paternity, Mr. Gilbert. You need something more substantial to make your claims sound sensible. Perhaps he's ready to tell the court something more sensible now.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes, ma'am.
And you wrote a love song about her?
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand how you're doubting her.
It's not down her. It's just down the situation at hand. It's like my family don't feel like he mine.
They don't know me.
My family don't feel like he mine. Maybe it's the...
Apparently, the defendant wants the baby to be his so bad. He's been playing the fatherly role right from the moment the pregnancy test result was available. But his family doesn't think he's the baby's biological father. The question is, why?
I was sleeping all day, and he went to go get the pregnancy test for me. He told me I was pregnant before I knew.
You remember this day, Mr. Gilbert?
Yes, ma'am.
And you go get the pregnancy test?
Yes, ma'am.
You take the test, and what happened?
It came up positive.
And you found out you're pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
At that moment, did he express any doubt?
No.
Up to this moment, the Gilberts still haven't provided the court with substantial reasons as to why they believe the defendant didn't father the child in question. Instead, the defendant's sister goes gangster crazy, making serious allegations about her brother's potential baby mama. Threesomes? Oh my days.
You heard.
First of all, she was having threesomes with men. She was already pregnant before she met my brother. That's what I heard.
Okay, let's go one at a time. Ms. Davis, is that true?
No. They can't even tell you that I talked to anybody while you sitting up here doing all that.
I don't know that. I don't know what you was doing. I don't know what
you want.
Interestingly, the plaintiff presents the court with some evidence she believes is enough to squash the Gilbert family's false claims about her son's paternity. She provides the court with two baby pictures, one of her son and the other, Mr. Gilbert's picture as a baby. Here is the question, do they really look alike?
Picture of Corey.
Baby Corey.
Baby Corey.
And his dad.
And you say his dad on the other.
As a child.
Yeah, it was me as a baby.
And you say you see the resemblance?
Mm-hmm. They just don't like me, so of course they're not gonna like me.
It's not about like. He asked me, did the baby look like him?
And again, here comes the crazy gangster and the potential baby auntie flying out. Her voice overlaps the plaintiff's voice as she alleges that she was once meant to take a DNA test for the baby, but she didn't. We all know you're trying to protect your brother because you think he's going to become a superstar someday, but you really need to chill out.
Yeah. And then another thing, she was lying anyway, saying that she was getting DNA tests while we was in Missouri, never did nothing.
I never
so how would
said
that make us feel?
Because they
that
told
you're trying
me
to hide
on
something.
the birth certificate.
Right, but you still have to establish maternity in the state of Missouri. I didn't get a DNA test, so I know how it goes.
What you mean?
Hold on.
Ladies! I believe we've had enough of the ranting this case has generated in court today because it clearly won't get us the answers we need. So let's hear Judge Lake read out test result aloud.
Mr. Gilbert, you are the father.
Because you gonna be right back with me.
If you want to stay over there, you can, Mr. Gilbert.
It's good.
Miss Davis, what are you feeling, honey?
Because I've been trying to get this out for so long, and it hurt. It hurt bad.
Just when you think you've seen it all, we've brought y'all a well-garnished episode on crazy gangsters on paternity court. Mr. Dark is in court today against his alleged promiscuous ex-girlfriend to prove that he didn't father her child. However, the defendant, Ms. Bailey, goes gangster crazy on him in retaliation, calling him a deadbeat for running from his fatherly responsibilities. Oof, it seems like we're about to have a long day in court today.
The defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago, but are furious Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son.
Firstly, why would the plaintiff insult his ex-girlfriend's name? As you could have guessed, he's got a long story to back up his claims. And I hope you've got your popcorn right beside you as he takes us down memory lane.
Your Honor, I've been knowing Miss Bailey for probably about 7 or 8 years, and she's had a history of things like this. And I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about myself and Miss Bailey. We was in a relationship for about 4 years.
Okay.
Oh, you haven't heard it all. Wait till you hear what she has to say to defend her actions. She clearly feels no remorse as she tries to justify her infidelity. You could see the cold gangster in her eyes as she responded to Judge Lake's questions.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay, but...
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
Okay, and so your best friend told on you?
Now, one can help but wonder what happened to their relationship after Mr. Dark heard the heartbreaking news. Normally, you would expect that that is the cause of their breakup, but no, it didn't end things with her at that point because she had his heart wrapped around her little fingers.
I tried to work past it, again, because of the things that we had already discussed of us being a family and us, trying to work things out, possibly us getting married or whatever the case may be. But I tried to work it past for about approximately a year or so, but I just couldn't take it. I couldn't.
Okay. The inevitable happened because he couldn't handle the hurt, but the situation seems very confusing because the plaintiff claimed they broke up 4 years ago. If that's the case, how are they in court today to confirm the paternity of an 11-month-old baby?
We never stopped. We never stopped dealing with each other along the way. Even though we separated, we still occasionally seen each other every, like 2, 3, maybe every 2 months, 3 months or so.
What's dealt with each other mean?
We still seen each other occasionally.
Seen each other and had sex, or
Yes,
just
ma'am.
seen each other
Still
and
was
said
having
hello?
unprotected sex sometimes, yes, ma'am.
So, even though they broke up, they still had sexual intercourse with each other along the way? Oh, okay. Well, what we need to understand now is if they had sex during the window of conception and if it was protected or not.
You kept having sex until
2016.
It was like early March.
You have sex and you didn't use protection?
No.
ma'am.
When was Jameer born?
November 13th.
You're saying the last time you were really intimate was around in March?
Yes.
If the dates of their last intercourse and the day of conception is correct, then it means the defendant has been using the plaintiff all these while. But hey, we can't jump into conclusions just yet. There's only one way we can determine if she's right about her claims or not.
Yes, ma'am.
You feel like you were a crutch?
Yes, ma'am, because from the beginning, I was there at the hospital when Jameer was born, even with my doubts, because in the back of my mind, I didn't never want to feel like, okay, he really was my son and I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do as a father. I was there when he was born.
Here is where things get more interesting. The defendant, who has been acting gangster all day, is suddenly crying. Like, really? Well, apparently she gave the plaintiff some conditions while they were at the hospital after the baby was born. And due to those conditions, he had to sign the birth certificate.
To answer your question is because you told me at the hospital that if I didn't sign it right then I wouldn't have another opportunity to sign it. That's what you told me right there at the hospital.
No, I didn't. You didn't have to sign it. I didn't force you to sign it. You signed it on your own.
If I didn't sign it, what was going to happen? He won't have your last name. You won't get to sign it. Did you not say that?
Back to the tears. Why is Ms. Bailey crying so hard? Is she feeling remorseful because she knows she's about to be exposed, or sorry for playing on Mr. Dark's intelligence? Well, let's hear her state her reasons for crying as she answers Judge Lake's questions.
What is upsetting you in this moment, Miss Bailey?
Because he know that it is his son. Like, my baby look exactly like him.
It's upsetting you because he's denying him?
Yes. You don't understand. I have 3 other kids that I take care of by myself.
Now, wait a minute. This isn't the first time Ms. Bailey will be tangled up in such situation. As a matter of fact, she's not denying it. No wonder the plaintiff is so confident about his doubts on being her son's biological father.
Okay, but I made sure that I wasn't gonna do it again. Like, I made sure that you was gonna be the only person.
Miss Bailey, have you been in a paternity situation before?
I have. With my ex.
You have?
Yes.
With your ex?
We know for sure that Mr. Dark didn't have sexual intercourse with Ms. Bailey during the window of conception. However, she makes a strong claim on whether or not she had sex with someone else during that period. Her claim makes the child conception seem somewhat biblical, because if you try to wrap your mind around it logically, it makes no sense at all.
Intimate in February during the window of conception we outlined between February 17th to February 24th.
No, ma'am.
No.
Both of you said no. So, Miss Bailey, I must ask you, respectfully, who were you intimate with during that time?
At this point, it feels like there is no need to drag things further. It would be a miracle or a mix-up with the dates if the plaintiff turns out to be the child's biological father. But if he's not, then it means the defendant has been holding back some truth in her testimonies. Well, whatever the case might be, I think it's time for us to hear the DNA test result.
Mr. Dark, you are the father. You are the father.
I told you that he was yours.
Your word ain't, man.
Okay.
So listen, when I first told you you were the father, Mr. Dark, I saw genuine emotion on your face.
Mr. Kennedy claims he is being dragged to court today to contest the paternity of a child he sure isn't his. Ms. Pope is angry Mr. Kennedy is denying her child's paternity and says he has to step up and provide for the child.
Mr. Kennedy, you claim to be a nice guy who was forced to make the tough decision to drag the defendant to court to prove you did not father her 3-month-old son, Christian. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pope, you and your mother are insulted that Mr. Kennedy denies paternity and refuse to acknowledge your child.
Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Pope were never an official couple, but they were in a situationship, sort of. They hit off on a great start, but soon, Ms. Pope realized Mr. Kennedy was a jerk and couldn't move forward with him. They still had a sexual relationship, though.
What point did you realize this all-American guy wasn't what he seemed to be?
When he started to say that I had feelings over my ex, and that wasn't the case. If I was not over my ex, I wouldn't be trying to involve myself with anybody else.
Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Pope went from friends to friends with benefits. They didn't get a chance to be more, but it seems like they're unbothered about that. Did they ever even like each other? There seems to be bad energy between them, and it's obviously because of the latest inclusion in the picture, a baby.
The reason why my feelings had changed was because she didn't have a GED, she didn't have a future plan going for her. At the time, I was going to school for my associates in criminal justice. I was working and raising my first son, and it wasn't until my friend told me, you know, she doesn't have anything going for her at the moment, so you need to drop it like a bad habit.
Drop her like a bad habit? That is just low. According to Ms. Pope, their relationship didn't move past the fling phase because he suspected she still had feelings for her ex. However, according to Mr. Kennedy, he dropped her like a bad habit because she didn't have anything going on for herself.
I found out that I was pregnant at 6 weeks. I had a cutie one morning and threw it up at work. I put the 2 and 2 together. It wasn't rocket science, and I knew that I was pregnant. And after that point, he really didn't have much to say over the fact that I was.
So Mr. Kennedy agrees he was being a jerk, and on purpose. Also, when Ms. Pope broke the pregnancy news to him, she let him know that there were 2 other men that could be her child's potential father. Why didn't she say that in the first place? And how do you tell a man this and expect him to willingly accept he's your child's father?
Wait a minute, how did she tell you you were the father?
Through Facebook, I got messages.
Let me read through these messages. I've been trying to get a hold of you. I wanted to call you and talk. And you reply, about, and she replies, would you like to guess? And then you reply, no. And then Ms. Pope says, okay, well, I'm not sure how to say this, so I'll just show you. And you send a picture of the baby.
What a way to announce the birth of your child to his father. Over text, wow. We won't entirely blame Ms. Pope, though, because it seems Mr. Kennedy was intentionally unreachable. He cut this woman off on purpose, of course. He'd do everything he could to avoid her. It's a shame he can no longer avoid her, except, of course, the DNA results come out negative.
You know, 6-hour trip out of my day to go up and actually see the child with my own eyes, just to make sure she was being truthful. I didn't get anything until after the child was born.
So when you took the time and went up to see Christian, what happened?
Just held him, you know, kids or anything like that, trying to find any similarities between him and I. And
after the shocking news from Ms. Pope that he was a father, Mr. Kennedy went to see this baby, you know, to confirm if he was real. Going to see the baby despite being aware of the 2 other men involved was a nice thing to do. But let's hear more before we conclude.
He did come. He came to see us. My mom came in and she said, oh, you look just like Christian. I don't know why he's trying to deny it now.
Your Honor, there's no plate to step up to if I didn't know the plate was there.
Well, he does now.
When you specifically tell me I'm not the father and then months later try to get me to step up.
Miss Pope, you do have to own the fact that once you tell a man or he becomes aware that there are 2 other possibilities.
Exactly. Why is Ms. Pope being so weird about this? Where are the other men? How did she remove them from her potential father list and crown Mr. Kennedy as Christian's father? How is she suddenly sure the child is Mr. Kennedy's?
Yeah, he never came to my door and said, I'm ready to figure this out. Let's go do this. Let's get this done.
You didn't inform me about any of this until after he was already born.
Ms. Pope, I feel like you're missing is that you did admit that there were 2 other possibilities. And
yeah, I admitted it.
What he's saying is he took the approach, if you didn't reach out to him and you didn't include him, you must not have really thought he was the father.
While this is an interesting turn to the story, it's not exactly relevant to the case. We're talking about the paternity of the child you supposedly had with Mr. Kennedy, not the one he had with someone else. He cheated, you cheated, blah, blah, blah. There is a baby here, and we need to know if Mr. Kennedy is his father or not.
I felt like I wasn't gonna give my son the life he deserves because I didn't know whether or not to have a complete jerk who is a father in his life, or to just say the best things about you and hope that, maybe one day you'll choose to step up to the plate and be there for him.
Not once did I say I would not be there for the child. I just want to verify that it's truly mine and I'm not going to be taking care of someone else's.
Nice speech from both parties, but am I the only one bothered about the fact that Judge Lauren isn't asking questions about the other two men?
And I tell young women, this is not a game you're ever going to beat a man at. Women can do a lot of things. We are very powerful, but we rarely win this game because somehow we slip up and get pregnant. I mean, this never changes, does it, Jerome? The saga never changes.
Nobody could have said it better, Judge. Anyway, let's get straight to the point and find out if Mr. Kennedy is Christian's father. The DNA results are in.
Mr. Kennedy, you are the father. You are the father.
All right.
How do you feel?
Like I got a lot of work to do.
Ms. Pope?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. This is why we're here.
Ms. Whitman cheated on the man she loves with Mr. Anderson, and she's here to determine the paternity of her 1-month-old daughter, Michaela, hoping to save her relationship. Mr. Anderson says he was informed by Ms. Whitman herself that she had numerous sexual partners, other than him and her boyfriend. So there's no way he could be Michaela's father.
We kind of kicked it off quick and became girlfriend and boyfriend. And 2 months into relationship, I met Mr. Anderson. And we were pretty much like friends. And because I thought Mr. Mitchell was cheating, I kind of went to him and we were texting.
And then you started giving Mr. Anderson a little bit more attention.
Yes, Your Honor, that's right.
In just 2 months, Ms. Whitman ended up with both a boyfriend and a side guy. Why, you ask? Well, she suspected her boyfriend, Mr. Mapson, was cheating on her. Now, they're caught up in a paternity mystery. Who's the real father?
I have doubts because I know she was sleeping with other men besides me.
Specifically, how do you know that?
Because I've seen them up there, Your Honor.
Up where?
Me, for one.
No. I need details. This is court. I need details. I need facts. You say you saw them with your own eyes.
Yeah.
Explain to the court.
Look, this is a small town. It's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows who drives what. This particular person I know stayed with her a week.
Okay, seems like we have an interesting case here. Mr. Anderson is confident, as in 100%, that Ms. Whitman was with other men when she was with him, and some of these men are even related to him. Isn't that wild?
I want to understand, how did you figure out or find out that Miss Whitman was pregnant?
Well, actually, Facebook, my baby mama, she didn't even call me.
I sent you the picture of the pregnancy test.
And you sent it to Mr. Anderson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you send it to anybody else?
Yes,
I sent it to Mitch, too, through Facebook.
Mr. Mapson?
Yes, Mr. Mapson, Your Honor.
After Ms. Whitman found out she was pregnant, she sent some kind of Facebook broadcast message to her potential baby daddies, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Mapson. One was excited until she broke it to him that there was a possibility the baby belonged to someone else.
I kind of had suspicions because of our relationship. It was a long-distance relationship.
Did you show up to the hospital and participate in the birth with her?
At first, my intentions was to show up at the hospital, but just knowing that it could have been somebody else's kid, I didn't want to just involve myself. To involve myself in that situation, then find out that it's not mine, I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Mr. Mapson, who Ms. Whitman claims to be in love with, was devastated after finding out the baby might not be his. So he didn't participate in the pregnancy, and it was easy for him to do that because their relationship was long distance.
The reason I blocked her off because of the stuff she was doing on Facebook. She was, just out there just saying, this is my baby daddy, knowing she been with her,
So since you had such real doubts, did you pursue a DNA test at all? Did you say, I want to have a paternity test?
Yes, I did.
What happened?
And we argued about that.
What's the argument? She admitted she didn't know.
He wanted me to pay half of DNA test, but Mr. Mapson also wanted me to pay half. I wasn't finna pay half for both people.
Mr. Anderson is angry Ms. Whitman ruined his relationship because of her baby daddy drama, and that's one of the reasons he blocked her on Facebook. And when he pushed for a DNA test, Ms. Whitman didn't go along with it because she couldn't pay half of the bill. Does the woman really want to know who Michaela's father is?
I went to see the baby, and she was pretty. She was a beautiful baby. So I showed her around to my family, even called my kids, asked them what they think about her, and they all said, we believe it's yours because she kind of looked like my my youngest son or whatever.
So you had to take this beautiful new baby around to your family and to your children and literally just say, do you all think she looks like me?
Correct.
Oh, Mr. Mapson seems like a gentleman, taking Michaela to meet his family and all. If there was no doubt about the girl's paternity, you can tell they'd have been a happy family. But this situation has put a dent in their relationship. Is it possible to move forward from here?
I'm willing to be with her. I told her once that marry or whatever, we just do what we gotta do.
And what if she's not yours?
If she's not, that right there, that'll hurt.
Both men just need answers to move forward. It's a good thing they came to paternity court while Michaela is still only a month old, so she can grow up knowing her real father. It looks like both are willing to take on the responsibility, whichever way it turns out.
What are you feeling now?
I'm feeling pain.
Because this situation really bothers you.
This situation has affected my life, you know. My baby mama texting her all the time talking about this situation. Well, anyway, we get into it. She called police on me. I had to get my stuff, get out. You know, I got on now. After that happened, another man there. She done kicked me out. I done spent money. You there right now?
This just sucks, and we can't put the blame entirely on Ms. Whitman. No matter how much he blames her, Mr. Anderson also participated in whatever went on between them. It's both their fault that his relationship got ruined, not just hers.
That neither one of these gentlemen are the father of your child?
No, Your Honor. There's no chance that anybody else could be the father.
So you are positive?
Yes, Your Honor.
That there is absolutely no other possibility, no other man besides these two could be the father of your child?
That's right, Your Honor.
There's one.
Mr. Anderson is firmly insisting there's another guy in the picture, but Ms. Whitman has consistently denied it. Who should we believe?
So, the bottom line is, you've just admitted that you lied in the courtroom previously because you previously stated that a man did not stay at your home for a week when Mr. Anderson testified that he did. I need to ask you again, is there any possibility that the father of your beautiful little girl could be someone other than these two men?
Okay, this will only get more complicated if we don't get the results already. Who is Michaela's father? Let's find out.
Mr. Anderson, you are not her father.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I knew it.
We have another result. Mr. Mapson, you are her father.
Mrs. Thayer is here to save her marriage by proving Mr. Thayer is the father of her 19-month-old daughter, Caden, and 3-year-old son, Matthew J. Noir. Mr. Thayer absolutely does not trust her and would divorce her if one or both of the children weren't his.
I want to prove to him that these are his kids. I've done nothing wrong to him, for him not to trust me, and for him to say that these aren't his kids. And I have 5 kids total, and he treats the 3 oldest kids better than he treats his own kids, and I don't feel like that's fair.
So this doubt is wreaking havoc in your marriage.
Yeah, in my mind, we're basically separated because we don't sleep in the same room no more. When we're around each other, she's on her phone, and we just sit in the same house, and we don't even communicate no more. So I don't feel that connection with her.
So they're pretty much separated, except they happen to live together. It's interesting that Mr. Thayer treats his stepkids better than he treats the 2 that are his, according to his wife. The big question is, where did Mr. Thayer's doubt originate from?
She told me that it was clear that she did not want a relationship. She just wanted friends with benefits, and I wanted the same thing. I didn't want a relationship at that time.
Miss Thayer, what's this open thing? You do what you do, I do what we do, we in a relationship. What is that about?
I've been in some really bad relationships to where I just didn't trust men. I even went through a phase where I started dating girls for a little while.
Good one, Judge. Because of how her past relationships went, Ms. Thayer just wanted something casual. She wanted to be friends with benefits. We wouldn't call having unprotected sex casual, though. Anyway, this was how Matthew J&R came into the picture.
I conceived Matthew September 10th. I mean, he knows my conception date. This is not new to him.
So your conception date, you say, was around September 10th?
Yes.
All right, 2012. So if we calculate, the child should be born somewhere between June 2nd and June 9th. When was Matthew born?
May 18th.
Oh, so there's your doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of the mismatch between the conception and delivery dates, Mr. Thayer began to suspect that Matthew J&R was the result of an affair Ms. Thayer had before their own thing started. Although his concern is valid, we can't help but wonder why he stayed in the relationship long enough for there to be a second mistaken baby if he had these suspicions all along.
And so why do you doubt her so much?
Just because of some of the things that she says when we do get in arguments, she brings up the fact that she would sleep with somebody else. That's like puts a big seed in my head thinking that.
So because of these trust issues, you've asked the court to administer a lie detector test.
Yes.
We did in fact do that, and I will have those results for you in just a bit.
A relationship without trust? That's no good, and Mrs. Thayer gave the man a whole number of reasons not to trust her. Why do you threaten him with infidelity whenever a fight comes up? A lie detector test is really a good choice.
I uprooted my whole life for him. So for me to uproot my whole life and do all of this stuff for him, and then for him to turn around and say stuff like, I have doubts, I don't think that these are, I'm only around you, I'm not around anybody else. I don't see why you would think I would waste my time.
But I don't know that, Your Honor.
That doesn't,
I'm not so certain that she's only with me, because I'm not there all day, every day with her.
We lived with
But
his
what
family.
he was saying is during that trip, he claims you weren't intimate.
Were they intimate during this period or not? If they were, even one time, it could very well have resulted in a pregnancy. But if they weren't at all, Mr. Thayer's doubts would be understandable. It is so obvious that Mr. Thayer does not trust his wife in the slightest bit. Why? And how did it get so bad?
I've been in so many relationships throughout my life that I chose him to marry. This is the person that I chose to marry. This is the person
And
that
I
I
chose you
to spend
too.
my life
Like, you
with.
weren't the only one. Like,
So, but not as much as I've caught him in his phone, and he's texting another woman. He loves her. So you've never seen me text "I love you" to anyone else.
this was after after I seen the messages that she was sending. So when I seen that she wasn't all the way faithful with me, of course I'm not gonna be all the way faithful with somebody else.
Really? So after all the fuss, Mr. Thayer has been cheating on his wife, and his excuse is that he couldn't be faithful to someone who was unfaithful to him. Is this how relationships work these days?
Mr. Thayer, as I listen to this testimony, do you think this is insecurity or infidelity? Because they're two different things.
The arguments that we had when she was first pregnant with Matthew, about a month into the pregnancy, is when she saw those messages, and we did actually separate for about 3 months.
Well, well, well. What more can be said? Mr. Thayer's mistrust of his wife has more to do with him than with her. He's insecure, and at the same time is cheating on her. So he believes she's doing the same. But how about Mrs. Thayer? Does he ever consider how hard watching him maltreat her kids must be on her?
Ms. Thayer, you were asked, in the last 4 years, have you had sexual contact with anyone other than the 2 men you have previously disclosed? You said no. The lie detector determined you were being deceptive.
Mrs. Thayer was convincing with her story about having an affair only when she and Mr. Thayer had been on a 3-month-long break. The lie detector test, however, proves otherwise. Mrs. Thayer had been lying. This begs the question, what else had she lied about?
Mr. Thayer?
You just gave me my answers. So that just puts more doubt in my mind that these kids aren't mine. Because Matthew doesn't look anything like me, neither does Cadence.
They look just like you. Everything, the chin, the cheeks, the shape of the face, everything.
Well, obviously you're lying, so we can't believe you.
She still insists she's never cheated on him while they were together, just that she was with more than 2 people while they were on a break. Seems like she really went wild in those 3 months.
I am 1,000% sure that they are his kids.
And we've heard that 1,000 times too. So we know that the kids looking like me is not always 100% accurate, and then when people say they're 1,000% sure, it always goes left. At the end of the day, if they're not mine, I'm not gonna be with somebody I can't trust, and hopefully this fixes it, because I do have feelings for her, Your Honor.
We hope for Mr. Thayer's sake that the kids are his. Fingers crossed. Let's find out.
Mr. Thayer, you are the father.
I told you.
One of them, one of the 2.
I told you.
We still need Matthew.
The second result for you, are you ready? Mr. Thayer, you are the father.
I told you.
Can I give her a hug?
Absolutely.
I love you too.
Ms. Spruell is unhappy to be here today because she is sure about her child's paternity and doesn't need a DNA test. Mr. Dixon, on the other hand, says Ms. Spruell is a compulsive liar, and he really needs to see the test results.
Why is he denying paternity?
He flip-flops. One day this is his daughter, the next day it isn't, and I'm tired. I'm irritated. It's to the point that it shouldn't be called for. If this is gonna be your baby 24/7. Don't go back and forth.
So he's going back and forth?
Yes, Your Honor.
So Mr. Dixon has been an on and off dad, coming in and out of their lives as he pleases. Ms. Spruell argues that if he's not the child's father, why does he keep coming around? Mr. Dixon says that doesn't mean anything, as he's sure the baby isn't his.
Brought this down. Well, as you can see, I have a family that works at a store.
On this particular day, my family member wanted to present Sky around. So one day she went to work. It was like, she was like, hey, we're so excited about our newest family member, Sky. Whoa, wait a minute, pause. No, that's not his baby, that's my brother's baby. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Why would this girl come out of the blue and claim that this is her brother's baby?
It's a bit difficult to follow what these two are going on about. Other than the fact that he believes she is a liar, Mr. Dixon created a whole cartoon design to tell the court about an encounter where a woman claimed Ms. Spruill's child belonged to her brother.
She had one phone that she used to be on the internet, and she posts her whole entire life on Facebook. She has another phone where she texts and calls. She plays like she's two people on Facebook.
He has that
she
number. He's not allowed to have my main number. We have no communication. Our daughter, it wasn't even 7 months. Mr. Dixon had a whole nother child while he was still with me. He was still with me.
So what was he doing in Alabama? Not
making babies.
What? To be honest, their stories are all over the place. But if we understand correctly, Mr. Dixon had another child with someone else when Ms. Spruill's daughter was only 7 months old? Whoa, that's something. Mr. Dixon was really busy.
Ms. Spruill, you have evidence.
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. You say he accepted the baby at first, and this is your evidence to prove it. So this is his page.
And that is my baby girl. That is Skya. And he had other pictures of Skya on there as well.
And you claim he's accepting her. He's made her
He was so happy.
You're saying that when she was born, he was claiming her. He was saying, my baby girl is in the world.
He was there my entire pregnancy.
Okay, that was funny. Mr. Dixon might actually be the liar between the two. In the beginning, he painted Ms. Spruill to be a liar, but he never mentioned that he was present throughout her pregnancy and that he put up her daughter's pictures on his Facebook profile and everywhere else. Why'd he do that if he was so sure the baby wasn't his?
We come back in 2 weeks together, and guess what? You're 5 weeks, 3 days pregnant. Mr. Dixon was there. We sat in the parking lot afterward, and I asked Mr. Dixon, what do you want to do? He tells me, we gonna be all right. We gonna take care of this baby. Everything gonna be fine. 2 weeks later, we let his mother know that I was pregnant. She pretended to be happy-go-lucky about it, but Thanksgiving, all hell breaks loose.
If everything was this blissful at the beginning, what went wrong? Why did Mr. Dixon start to antagonize her all of a sudden? It was his idea that they keep the baby. He didn't have doubts then. So what went wrong?
If I'm going to keep doing everything for this child, that's my name. You didn't earn that right.
That's a lie.
You didn't earn that right.
Well, Miss Spruill, but now that's not the issue. If you're saying this is the father of my child, without a doubt, and he's saying, I want to put my name on the birth certificate and have her name changed.
Ms. Spruill needs to make up her mind. She wants Mr. Dixon to accept the paternity of her daughter, but at the same time, she doesn't want her daughter to carry his name. Isn't that contradictory? What better way could Mr. Dixon prove his readiness to accept the child than by willingly offering, actually fighting, for his daughter to have his name?
That baby didn't deserve that.
Why do you
My
lie?
baby did not deserve that. I don't care how you feel about me. That is a child. I know what it feels like to grow up without your daddy. It's not a good feeling. And to have somebody come in and out of your life, it's not fair. If you're gonna be her daddy 24/7. Don't pick and choose your days. Look at that beautiful little girl.
Ms. Spruill's feelings are understandable. Mr. Dixon can't keep acting like that. He has to be 100% present because the child deserves that. Ms. Spruill isn't even concerned for herself. Her only worry is her daughter.
Kamaya constantly lies. Why do you lie? Even when this baby was born, she lied. She even lied on the baby. First, okay, it started when you fell asleep and fell in the tub. You at the ER. You text me the whole time you at the ER, but yet you in the living room and get laughing and giggling with your son and everybody else.
Here we go with the lying again. Apparently, Ms. Spruill tells lies about the baby's medical condition just to get Mr. Dixon's attention. Ms. Spruill still insists they weren't lies, though. And Ms. Spruill has another child that may have something to do with the beef between these two.
September 2015, I got into a relationship with somebody because Mr. Dixon was no longer in the picture. I got into a relationship with somebody who accepted both of my children, who paid for Skya's daycare,
been in multiple
who bought
relationships.
diapers.
She going to different guys trying to get money from guys. That's all she doing. She using people.
Wow.
That's all. Even an example.
We feel exactly the same way, Judge Lauren. These two are a lot. Ms. Spruill eventually got a boyfriend who was able to foot the bills for her 2 daughters, and Mr. Dixon has a problem with that because he doesn't trust her, or in his words, he doesn't know what to believe anymore.
You all are a lot. This is a lot.
Big mess.
I mean, ooh, this is like, whoa. Okay, I want to get this. I'm really trying to understand this story. When you say you aren't sure, Mr. Dixon, and I understand Ms. Spruill's point where there's so much evidence indicating that you accepted her, then...
When you told me when we first met, I couldn't get pregnant. Paris, my 5-year-old son, he was a miracle baby. I wasn't even supposed to have him.
We just want the truth, too. Let's find out what the DNA results say.
Mr. Dixon, you are the father.
Thank you.
You are her father.
Thank you.
Ms. Kelso is suing Mr. Davis for half the child care expenses and the sum of $2,551 if her 9-month-old son, Connor, turns out to be his. Mr. Davis is 100% certain he's not Connor's father because Ms. Kelso had been with another man during the conception window.
Ms. Kelso, you were in a relationship with another man, so why are you suing Mr. Davis?
Because our conception date aligns with the date that I was sexually active with Mr. Davis.
All right, please explain further. You all were in a relationship.
For about 4 years, on and off, whenever we weren't with somebody else, we were having sex with each other. And Mr. Davis and I had sexual intercourse while I was dating Mr. Hafner, even though he was out of town at the time.
This whole explanation sounds confusing. The only thing we can say for sure is that Ms. Kelso had several sexual partners during the window of conception, 2 of which were Mr. Hafner, her boyfriend, and Mr. Davis, who is here today.
There is a window of conception between January 5th and January 11th. And then you were intimate with Mr. Davis on the 7th, which is in purple.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then Connor was born October 18th.
Yes, he was a week late.
So, Mr. Davis, does this look familiar? Were you with Ms. Kelso on January the 7th?
As far as that particular date, I'm not for sure. I was definitely with her during that time frame, though. Yes, Your Honor.
You were?
Yes.
1 week after she was with Mr. Davis, her boyfriend, Mr. Hafner, came back to town and they were intimate. Now get this, her baby was a week late, so she's confused. Was the baby late or did they get her conception window wrong?
I have no reason to believe this child is mine. She flat out came out and told me the
if he's there, you know, he's...
Several times. She's told me in person the child's not mine. She's told me over Facebook. I have pictures of her telling me on Facebook
I'd like to see those.
That she's not, that I'm not the father.
So this is a post from you, Amber Kelso. It reads, "My son is not yours."
Yes, I told him that because I didn't want him coming back to my house while I was pregnant. He put me through way too much stress, so I just told him the child's not yours to get him away from me.
You tell a man he's not your son's father, then you tell him he is, and you're surprised he isn't owning up to his responsibility. Well, good thing she has her receipts. If Connor turns out to be his, he has no choice but to pay.
Your Honor, I know for a fact at least 10 people that I know personally that she's had intercourse with. I have no reason to be there for this child.
But Mr. Davis fails to explain about the times that I had sex with the people that he knows because none of them were around the area of the conception date, not even months around.
All this talk isn't going to save Mr. Davis. What business does he have sleeping with a promiscuous woman if he's just going to rub it in her face later? Promiscuous or not, it doesn't change the fact that he's the one with the highest chance of being Connor's father.
You constantly talk about how promiscuous she is, and yet you keep sleeping with her.
That's all I was interested in.
And were you using protection all these
No,
times?
we weren't because she told me that she was medically unable to have children. And in the 4 months that we were together, she never so much as had a scare with her. And we met, I can count with one hand. I don't even need all 5 fingers on how many times we've used condoms. And all of a sudden she's pregnant.
Are you
and all of a sudden I'm the father.
The fact that Ms. Kelso thought she couldn't have kids doesn't matter in this case because she did have a child. It would have been valid if Mr. Davis was the one with the condition. They did have unprotected sex for a month, and she did have a child, which very well could be his.
Mr. Hafner, thank you for joining us today. I have to ask you, do you think baby Connor is your child? What are you holding? Is this evidence you brought to court?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see what that evidence is. What is this, sir?
It's a picture of me and Connor.
It is.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you're presenting this picture to show a resemblance, and is this you when you were a child?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then baby Connor?
Yes, Your Honor.
There's no denying that the baby looks very much like Mr. Hafner, but we all know that that doesn't prove anything. Only the DNA results can prove the child's paternity.
The entire time, since I was pregnant, into the time that I gave birth, the day I gave birth, ever since they have been in my life, Connor sees them regularly, at least 3-4 times a week. I take
She's made 0 attempts to reach reach out to me or my family. Through another mutual friend via Facebook, I've seen pictures of her with Connor and his family and having just around Mr. Hafner's family. That's it.
This is why you should stick to one relationship and commit to it. There's two men involved. One is ready to commit, one isn't. One wants to be the father, the other doesn't. The sad part about it all is that the one who doesn't, who basically hasn't given a hoot about the child since he was born, is likely his father.
This is hurting me because I believe Connor is ours. He looks like my dad. I have pictures to prove it.
I'd like to see those.
To show you, he looks just like my dad and I.
And this is really upsetting you.
Yeah, I believe he's my grandbaby.
And it's important to you. We understand how important they are.
I love him to death.
Mr. Hafner's family loves baby Connor. They already have a connection with him, and the thought of him being someone else's is devastating to them. I mean, look at them digging for similarities between their features and the baby's.
You really are confused, and I can see it.
I made a mistake by cheating on Mr. Hafner with Mr. Davis. I made that mistake, and I don't know.
That's exactly why we're here.
For him.
And so the truth of the matter is, although you're here suing Mr. Davis for half of the child rearing expenses you've incurred thus far, the truth is you don't know who your child's father is.
No.
Well, let's see if Mr. Davis is going to be $2,551 short today. The results are in.
Mr. Hafner, you are not the father. Mr. Davis, you are the father. Do you need to sit down, Miss Kelso? You need to sit down. Okay.
Ms. Cochran is furious that Mr. Birch is denying the paternity of her son, especially since they had been in a sexual relationship for 7 years. Mr. Birch claims he and Ms. Cochran were never in a relationship, only friends with benefits. However, he insists they didn't sleep together during her window of conception.
Your Honor, he's denying my son because he doesn't want the responsibility of another child, nor does Mr. Birch want to pay child support. That's why I believe he's denying our child.
Your Honor, we only had friends with benefits since we first started. And I made it clear to her. That's what I wanted from the beginning.
I understand that Mr. Birch only wanted friends with benefits, and I was fine with that. And I understood that Mr. Birch did not want any more children, and I was fine with that.
They both agreed to be friends with benefits. No kids, no commitment. But somehow, this baby got in, and Ms. Cochran is saying he has to face it and own up to his responsibility. And she is right. Whether or not you plan for a baby, you have one. So you gotta act like it.
At the times we would have sex, she was actually bringing the condoms to me.
So you were using protection?
No, ma'am, that is not true. We did not start using protection until after I was pregnant.
I have to ask you this, Miss Cochran. Why were you having unprotected sex with Mr. Birch?
So the both of them have other kids, and for 7 years were in a sexual relationship without using protection. How didn't they see that at some point a baby was going to come in, and this 7-year relationship was heading nowhere? Seriously?
So if he's living with other women, how do you think that you're going to be in a relationship with him?
Because it didn't start out like that, Your Honor. The women came after he relocated back to his hometown, is when I got knowledge of the other women.
Your Honor, actually what she would do is ride past my house every time.
Not once he relocated
she would
to
see
another
a car,
city.
she would see a car sitting in front of my house, and she would assume, oh, she lived with you.
It pretty much sounds like they were more than just friends with benefits. Friends with benefits usually don't have this territorial nonsense going on. What do you mean you were driving past his house to monitor who was or wasn't there? So much for keeping it casual.
Mr. Birch is the first man I ever loved. Hopefully he's not the last. He was my first man that I ever loved. I felt like because he was a little older as younger men.
But I never snuck anything towards her. I was honest with her the whole time.
Honesty is not in his policy, Your Honor.
Now I get it. Ms. Cochran assumed that when Mr. Birch was finally ready to commit, it would be with her. After all, she had stuck with him for 7 years. So when they started having the relationship talk, she was shocked to find out that he was messing around with other women.
When you know a woman loves you, if you don't want to be bothered with that woman, then why are you coming over and having sex with her more than one time in a week? You know that only fuels the love she has for you and makes her think there's a possibility.
I never made her think it was a possibility.
That's not true.
I was honest with her the whole time.
Mr. Birch did do her dirty. Even when he was dating other people, he kept seeing Ms. Cochran. What did you expect her to think? Of course, this would lead her to believe that she still had a shot with him. Seems like the man was just playing with her feelings.
What does this calendar outline?
On the 5th of October, Your Honor, and Mr. Birch had texted me wanting to see me, and I was on the other line with her, and I said, my old man's texting me, I'm about to go see him. And she said, don't give in to him, you're being a mashed potato. So because I did go there, and I had sex with Mr. Birch that night, I wrote on the calendar so that way my best friend and my mother would not know that I had went back to Mr. Birch and had sex with him again, so I wrote mashed potato.
What a messy, embarrassing story, Ms. Cochran. Despite her friend's warning, she answered Mr. Birch's booty call. And when she saw he was on vacation with another woman, she went ahead and slept with someone else, saying, "If he isn't alone, I'm not going to be alone either." Well, look where that got both of you.
Hello, Miss Brandon. What would you like to add? What do you know about this situation?
I know Tion. I'm not going to sit here and badmouth him. He's just not a good friend. He has played on her emotions since day one. He knew what he was doing. He has 4 other kids that he takes care of.
Her friend is right. Mr. Birch led Miss Cochran on for such a long time. How do you go house hunting with a woman and say what you had was casual? Even worse, they spend almost all their time together. If that isn't dating, then what is?
And I never even heard about him being the Lewis Cochran. That's something new to me.
I told him, but he never believed it.
You never knew?
I never knew. Never know.
He didn't want to know. He didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to know.
Never told me that.
I called him,
that's
asked
something
him
new
for
to
the
me.
spelling. He gave me the spelling, and he asked me why. And I said, because I'm putting your name on his birth certificate.
Ha-ha. Not so funny, Mr. Birch. He didn't even know what the child's full name was, and you claimed to be this woman's friend, at least. Mr. Birch just doesn't want another child. That's why he's acting up like this. If only he had tried harder to prevent this from happening.
You standing over here denying the baby but asked to claim him on your taxes?
Yes, I did.
Girl, I know you in love with this boy. I know you are, because you can't see nothing. That's a lot of nerve.
It is.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Was that your way of saying that you knew deep down that was your child? If you're gonna claim him on your tax?
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Ron, I'm ready for the results.
It's time to find out if Mr. Birch is the father of Miss Cochran's son. The results are in.
You are not the father.
Ooh, Lord.
Miss Cochran?
I apologize.
And I accept your apology.
I know there was a part of you that truly wanted this child to be his because it's just another way to be connected to the man that you love.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
Fights that made my jaw drop on paternity court.
He wasn't there. He didn't even come to the doctor's appointment.
But the problem is if he's ever going to do something, you have got to pipe.
Got back in a relationship.
You took him back again.
Okay.
Mr. Wallace, get out the court. Get out the court.
And guys, today's case has more action than a Hollywood blockbuster. Today's headliner is the case of Haysbert v. Howard, where the stakes are high and the emotions are even higher. Miss Haysbert is pointing the finger at Mr. Howard, claiming he's the runaway father of her 6-month-old son. But there's a twist. According to her, Mr. Howard was rolling doubles, fathering another child with another woman mere weeks apart. Get your splash guards on. This one is about to get messy.
Therefore, is not your responsibility. Yes. You are countersuing for $1,000 in damages for a ring Miss Howard pawned that was given to you by your late grandmother.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Miss Haysbert, please tell me how your relationship began.
I met this clown at the Washington Redskins Stadium when we used to work together.
1 second.
Mr. Howard denied paternity with the confidence of a man who's never seen a diaper. Oh, and he wasn't just here to clear his name. He was also countersuing for damages for a family heirloom ring that Miss Haysbert had allegedly pawned. The plot thickened as accusations flew faster than a fighter jet in a dogfight.
Oh, I can't wait for you to have my son. He was so excited.
Where the money at? Where's the money at if I won the lottery?
As soon as my 5th or 6th month of pregnancy, he wanted to change up the tables. He wasn't there. He didn't even come to the doctor's appointment.
At about 6 months.
She's alive.
Yes, and that's when the girlfriend started calling my phone, telling me, oh, they're still together, that he never broke up with her, that he lied, basically.
Yeah, by the look on Mr. Howard's face, you could tell that Miss Haysbert's testimony was getting to him. Miss Haysbert was on a roll. And the way things were looking, she was on track to steamroll Mr. Howard right out of the courtroom.
I ain't put no gun in your head.
You found out she was pregnant.
Yes.
When? How? She told you? She called you?
Yeah, she said, I'm pregnant. I said,
No.
Oh, you is? I said, damn. So I said,
Mr. Howard, you in the court.
I apologize, man. I was like, oh, you pregnant? Okay.
And she was like, well, what you gonna do?
Mr. Howard might as well be a comedian because he's cracking up this court. Granted, his funny demeanor and lighthearted testimony aren't doing him any favors, but boy is he entertaining. Too bad getting 2 women pregnant at the same by mistake isn't exactly a solid defense, or any defense for that matter.
How he was telling me how I'm his life. You know, when we was together, he said he loved me. He used to always say till death do us part when he gave me that ring.
That's because I was, I didn't give you nothing. You stole it. You stole it. You was a liar. You was a liar up in this courtroom. But that's all you doing is lying in this courtroom.
Order in the court.
Demeanor. The gloves were on, and the bell had rung. This was a fight, folks. It was a full-on screaming contest as Mr. Howard and Miss Haysbert wailed at each other at the top of their lungs. Judge Lake should have had some earmuffs on standby for this one. The drama only escalated as text messages were unveiled, revealing a trail of sweet nothings that Mr. Howard once whispered, or rather texted, to Miss Haysbert. The empty promises of love and marriage were presented in court for everyone to see, adding fuel to the raging fire.
But yet she was calling your phone, blowing up your phone. You say, I'm only gonna be there for the baby. That's why I'm talking to her for the baby. You told me that your daughter wasn't yours because she was sleeping around on you. You told me you didn't even know if the daughter was yours. But now you're claiming her. You do more for her than you do for my son.
My daughter look just like me. What are you talking about?
So what? She look.
I was dealing with a lot of stuff with this female, Your Honor.
The courtroom's already heating up. And then Miss Lynch steps in, the second mama in this daddy dilemma. She's got a vibe that says she means business, and she's ready to lay down her side of the story. The air is thick with anticipation. What's she going to reveal about her boyfriend, Mr. Howard, and their shared past?
You gave it to Ms. Lynch, and Ms. Lynch, you accepted.
I gave it back.
You gave it back to
Yes,
her.
when I found out about this chick.
Now, Mr. Howard, you then go and give it to Miss Haysbert.
I didn't give it to her. We was doing something at the time, and
we
she conversated about ring.
And you gave me the ring.
She's talking to me, boo-boo.
Well, that escalated quickly, but there's a twist. Miss Haysbert drops the bomb that she pawned the ring. According to her, Mr. Howard had gifted it to her as a ticket to their happily ever after. Only thing is, Mr. Howard swore that he never gave his grandma's ring to Miss Haysbert. He claimed that she had actually stolen it. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more tangled, Miss Lynch revealed that Mr. Howard had gifted her the ring before she turned it down. That ring gets around more than a rumor in a high school hallway.
And once you give a gift, Mr. Howard, it's not revocable. You can't take it back unless she voluntarily gives it back. So she did have the right to
I did not give her no ring. That's crazy.
Judgment for the plaintiff in that. Moving on to the DNA. Now, we're first going to get the results.
Now it's time for the main event, the DNA results. The courtroom's so quiet you could literally hear the tension. Is Mr. Howard the father of one baby both, or neither? Mr. Howard's face is a mask of calm, but you can tell his heart's racing like he just got dropped into a boxing ring with Mike Tyson. The suspense is killing everyone, and they're all waiting for Judge Lake to break open those envelopes.
Mr. Howard, you are his father.
To death do us part, boo. So it is what it is.
I'm gonna be a
Don't
man.
call my phone. Don't have that little witch over there call my phone. Or text my phone. You will never see him. Never.
All right, everyone, grab your popcorn because we've just stepped out of one heck of a courtroom showdown. Miss Nazarene and Mr. Rami, our 2 main characters, were practically shooting lightning bolts at each other with their eyes. Talk about drama!
You say he has caused you and your 2 children much pain and suffering by never stepping up as their father. Mr. Rami, you claim Ms. Nazarene has done immeasurable damage to your life and career by her very difficult personality. Ms. Nazarene, when did your relationship with Mr. Rami begin to sour?
Miss Nazarene was fired up, swinging accusations like a major league hitter. She was fuming, claiming Mr. Rami was about as involved in parenting as water is in a desert. Then Mr. Rami strolled in, cool as a cucumber with a grin that could make you think he knew something you didn't. He tried to pin the blame on Miss Nazarene, saying she was tough to deal with and needed loads of etiquette training.
Complete irrationality. The decision to be overtly angry, volatile, and violent for things that I consider to be less than important.
Like rape.
Very verbally and physically abusive.
Is that true, Ms. Nazarene?
No, it's absolutely not true. He and I have had one incident where he stole $500 from me.
Ms. Nazarene was absolutely seething, painting Mr. Rami as the kind of non-existent dad you'd find in every story about a terrible childhood. She didn't hold back, folks. Not one bit. She laid it all out there talking about Mr. Rami's money troubles and his big rap star dreams. She made it clear his priority wasn't being a dad.
Not trying to get a high school diploma, not trying to go to college. I put myself 90 hours, 90 units through college, raising 3 children on my own. I've always done hair. I've always worked, okay? This man does nothing.
Mr. Rami, is any part of this that she's saying true?
The fact that we might have some children together and that we spend a short period of time enjoying each other's company.
Okay, things were heating up now. Mr. Rami wasn't about to be outdone. He stood tall, defending his role as a father, saying he always chipped in with the occasional $100 when he had a job. He also built up his own offense, trying to make it seem like Miss Nazarene moving to a different state was the real problem here.
Trying to make me lose my youth because you're a deadbeat. I'm ready to smash you monsters. Your family does not care about us because we're too black-skinned. You have to be a big, fat, yellow hoe to get love
And I mean it.
and care.
And that's the truth.
Ms. Nazarene, those words were pretty harsh.
And I meant every one of them.
Weren't they in reference to?
Then boom! We got hit with Miss Nazarene's texts. And guys, they were explosive. The crowd couldn't believe it. The judge was taken aback, and Mr. Rami felt vindicated. He had started to turn the tables, and his accusations of Ms. Nazarene being a hothead and a hard person to deal with were starting to look more and more believable.
The court is trying to tell you right now that it's okay to just say, that hurt me. If they needed to bury this child, well, fine, then you deal with him on the level of your children on a different day. But
And
you
that's
gotta
what I
be
did.
a big enough woman to let the family do that.
Okay, and I did.
That's when the judge switched into shrink mode, her words like an extinguisher on the fiery Miss Nazarene. Judge Lake recognized that Ms. Nazarene was only being aggressive to Mr. Rami out of hurt. She pleaded with Miss Nazarene to put a lid on the anger, to maybe, just maybe, give Mr. Rami a sliver of a chance, all for the sake of the kids caught in the middle of this tornado.
You're so cavalier. As we speak about little people that you have made.
Oh, I've never tried to act like I was anything other than what I am, which is...
What are you?
A loser.
No, I'm being honest. He
And
says
a
he's being, I want him to tell me.
I am a writer.
And so am I. And I
and
still do hair, and I still work.
she made her decision to be with me with that information.
Really?
Okay.
Now it was Mr. Rami's turn in the hot seat. The tension was so thick, you'd need a chainsaw to cut through it. Everyone was waiting, holding their breath for what he'd say next. But guess what? The judge didn't lay down the law like we thought she would. Nope, she went for the heart-to-heart talk instead, telling both Mr. Rami and Miss Nazarene to put the kids first, no matter how much they can't stand each other.
You're saying in this room, if you don't think she took care of her kids by herself, turn around. Turn around. Who's raising their hand? Nobody, because everybody in this room knows he didn't do anything. But the problem is if he's ever going to do something, you have got to pipe down enough to receive
So
it.
can I say this in my own defense?
Yeah.
Let me say something in my own defense.
We know you did it
In my
all.
own defense.
And finally, everything came to a climax. Miss Nazarene just had a full-on argument with Judge Lake over her attitude. Judge Lake had already seen and agreed with Mr. Rami's statement that she was a difficult person to deal with, but nobody knew she would experience it too.
I could just let you go on all day because I want you to get the rant out, because when it's out, I want you to be able to leave it on the table so that he's heard everything you want him to know, and then I want you to look at him and say, when are you coming to see your kids?
I texted him yesterday.
This is what I'm saying. And then I want you, Mr. Rami, to answer definitively.
So it's worth remembering that this wasn't a case to prove paternity. So no DNA tests were involved in this one. But as everything headed to way close and Judge Lake was ready to make her ruling, we were left at a cliffhanger. What would be next for this less than dynamic duo? Would Miss Nazarene turn the drama down a notch? Would Mr. Rami lace up his dad boots and take up some responsibility? And the million-dollar question, would the kids finally get to bond with their estranged father and see their folks bury the hatchet for 1 or 2 minutes?
Don't start an argument.
I don't.
Hey, what time? And then if you could just give him a time, nothing else, and then you just say, I'll be there, and then
I have my hat.
Be there. Can you do that?
Yes.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
We have a wild one today, folks. This juicy case had everything. From tears and rage to screams and shouts, there was no way anyone in that courtroom was going to look away. Grab your popcorn and strap in, because this one is going to be a roller coaster of emotions, accusations, and baby daddy drama.
Ms. Austin, you say you are here today to defend your reputation and prove that Mr. Wallace is the father of your child. You argue that you do not owe Ms. Reed anything and she needs to move on with her life and pay her own bills.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Reed, how did you find out about Ms. Austin?
Okay, Your Honor, I found out about Mrs. Austin. One day I came in from the hospital from having my second child.
So let's set the stage. In the plaintiff's corner, we've got Miss Reed, the wife who's been through the ringer. On the defendant's side, there's Miss Austin, the girlfriend who's caught up in a love triangle that's more twisted than a pretzel. And in case you were wondering where the real orchestrator of this mess is, smack dab in the middle is Mr. Wallace, the man who's playing the field like it's the World Series.
To break up with someone.
Okay.
But I forgave him again, knowing it was wrong, and got back in a relationship with him.
You took him back again?
Yes.
You then married him?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Ms. Austin, how did you get involved with a married man? We hear it may have started before the marriage and continued.
The drama ensues. When Miss Reed spills the tea on how she found out about Mr. Wallace and Ms. Austin's affair, she'd just come home from the hospital with their second child when she picked up Mr. Wallace's phone, and surprise, surprise, it's Miss Austin on the line, claiming to be her husband's girlfriend. What a day that must have been. Fast forward, and Miss Reed forgives Mr. Wallace not just once, but twice. She even married the guy.
Ryan would never came to me if Dominique was Miss Reed was taking care of home, right?
So what you're saying actually is that you didn't have any regret or remorse about it because you felt like if she was handling her business, he wouldn't be over talking to you.
Right. Your Honor, that means that she didn't mind playing the role as his little mistress, because any woman wouldn't sit there and be in a relationship with a man that has a woman.
It was time for Ms. Austin to give her opening testimony, and boy, were we ready for it. Miss Austin didn't really deny any of Miss Reed's allegations in the beginning. She was actually out there defending her actions. According to her, she never knew that Mr. Wallace was married to Miss Reed when she first started seeing him. She also said that if Ms. Reed had been handling her business at home, Mr. Wallace wouldn't have had to come knocking on her door. Ouch! Shots fired!
Yes, I did it to hurt Rael, and I did it to hurt her. And so Rael could see it's not okay to cheat on someone and misuse them and tell them you love them, and that's not what you do to someone you love. You don't cheat on them and you don't misuse them, period. That's what I did it for.
Well, all right. Well, I think we need to see who these women are fighting over.
But wait, there's another twist. Just when you thought things couldn't get any messier, Ms. Reed just emptied a whole dump truck into the courtroom. Turns out, Ms. Reed has a pretty good reason why she doubts the paternity of Ms. Austin's baby. Apparently, there's another man in the mix, and he's not just any guy. He's Miss Austin's ex and Miss Reed's revenge fling. Yes, people, we can't make this stuff up. It's a lot like a busy soap opera, but the thing is, no one here is acting.
Why did you constantly, every time I got work, was there, and you could have left and went home to your mother, your sister, or whoever the case may be?
Your Honor, she says you kept coming back to her, Mr. Wallace, over and over again, and she said that you were spending Miss Austin's money that she was sending to you on her.
Correct. And?
Yes.
Everybody's laughing.
Now let's talk about the reason why these two women just can't seem to get along. Mr. Wallace. After being summoned by Judge Lake, he finally struts into court, and almost instantly, you can tell that the man had no chill. He's got 3 kids with Ms. Reed, might have 1 with Miss Austin, and has 0 cares in the world. He even admitted to cheating because he was bored in his marriage. Really, dude? Bored? Oh, and if you think he's immature now, just wait till you see what happens next.
Thank you so much. Now, what brings you to court today? What would you like to add?
I also have a 5-month-old child by Mr. Wallace that he claims he's not the father of.
You also have a 5-month-old child that you say was fathered by Mr. Wallace, but he's denying that child as well.
Yes.
Hold on 1 second. Just 1 second. We're going to get down to the bottom of this, but first...
Told you we weren't done yet. Another woman, Miss Roberts, steps into the courtroom, claiming she also has a 5-month-old baby with Mr. Wallace. That's right. 2 women with 5-month-old babies, both potentially fathered by the same guy. This wasn't just messy, it was a full-blown disaster. But with this case unraveling and expanding at light speed, Judge Lake opted to deal with Ms. Reed and Ms. Austin before focusing on the new arrival. Ms. Roberts!
It's very interesting to me. See, I get this situation. It's a lot of immaturity here. There are children here that need you all to grow up. Chosen to bring children into this world, now you need to live up to it. I want you all to get it together. Now, for you two, Ms. Roberts, Mr. Wallace, I'm going to send you to DNA diagnostics today because I want to get down to the bottom of whether or not you, Mr. Wallace, are in fact her child's father. That would give you 2.
That result was the farthest thing from surprising. Once Mr. Wallace was revealed to be the father to Ms. Austin's child, the courtroom turned into a battleground with insults and choice words flying faster than speeding bullets. Miss Reed was heartbroken, Miss Austin was fuming, and Mr. Wallace didn't look like he cared at all. As he stood there like he was waiting for a bus, the audacity he exuded irked the entire courtroom. Judge Lake called out the immaturity she was seeing, reminding everyone there were little kids involved who needed responsible parents. She also criticized the ladies for cannibalizing each other when the real villain was standing right beside them. Preach, Judge Lake, preach!
Because I want to get down to the bottom of whether or not you, Mr. Wallace, are in fact her child's father. That would give you 2 5-month-old children. Court is adjourned. I will see you back in this courtroom with the DNA results.
Even after Mr. Wallace was confirmed to be Ms. Austin's baby daddy, the stakes were still super high. The 4 individuals involved in this case had entangled their lives so much that nasty complications were inevitable. So Judge Lake put a pin on all the drama, and in paternity court first, she reset the scene to answer everyone's next burning question. Was Mr. Wallace the father of Ms. Roberts' baby?
Mr. Wallace, you say that if the results come back negative, you would like her to stay away from you and your current girlfriend, Ms. Austin. Ms. Reed. Now, you are here once again to find out if your husband, Mr. Wallace, is the father of yet another child.
And we're back! Things are already boiling over before the court was adjourned, but maybe everyone is a bit more level-headed now. Let's check in on these 4 individuals that we recently established are some of the most, if not the most, dramatic people on Earth. As we expected, these 3 ladies brought the drama in spades. Ms. Roberts might have got a little bit too carried away, but her ops were lucky that the bailiff was a great referee too. So as she was excused from the courtroom to calm down, the show went on, and the tension only rose from there.
Wallace.
So you don't have to go through, Judge?
Mr. Wallace, you know what? This is a sad state of affairs to see 3 beautiful young women act a fool over you.
But hold on, because the plot thickens. Mr. Wallace, who's supposed to be a one-woman man, is actually married, and his marriage was an accident. Can you believe it? And the cherry on top? He's got another kid with Miss Austin who's dreaming of wedding bells and being the future Mrs. Wallace. Talk about complicated!
The kids, I love my kids dearly, but I shouldn't have got married.
You just don't love their mothers.
Correct.
So, let me ask you this.
Correction, he's lying because he was texting me a couple of weeks ago telling me how he still loved me. So, you honestly still love me, you just, the relationship just over with.
You married to him?
Yes, but we're trying to get divorced. I want nothing to do with
I'll
right
give you
here.
all this news flash. You're still married until you divorce.
Now, Mr. Wallace was in the hot seat saying he loved his kids but regretted getting married. And get this, he was bold enough to say he didn't love the mothers, right in front of them. The audience was in shock, and so were we. But wait, there was more! Ms. Reed dropped a bombshell exposing Mr. Wallace's lovey-dovey text from just a few weeks ago. The irony!
Ms. Reed is clapping for you on that, so you don't hold your head down, lift your head up. So you made a bad decision. You love somebody that didn't love you back the way you wanted them to. That's human nature. We go through that as women. But what I want to understand is, do you understand clearly what I've been trying to say to you?
Yes.
That you got 3 women in this room telling the same story of lies.
Judge Lake was on fire, grilling Mr. Wallace like a BBQ on the 4th of July, and the crowd was eating it up. Applause, gasps, and drama were the flavors of the day, and we were there for every single bite. Then, in a jaw-dropping twist, Mr. Wallace admitted to cheating with 4 other women. And if you needed any more clarification, that's 4 women excluding the 3 who were present for this case. And that was before he even took the lie detector test. Miss Austin's dreams of being Mr. Wallace's fiancée were crumbling, and we were watching the train wreck in slow motion.
You understand me? No. You want to go out of here?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Wallace, get out the court. Get out the court. You know what?
Hey, what are you going to do about it?
I thought you
Let's go.
Get out the courtroom, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace, leave the courtroom.
Go out of the courtroom.
Chirac, boy.
Leave the courtroom.
courtroom, Miss.
But as he exchanged words with Miss Reed, Mr. Wallace flipped out and completely lost his cool. Insults were flying, fists were clenched, and Judge Lake was laying down the law. She sends Mr. Wallace packing out of the courtroom, and we're all left wondering whether this hearing had come to an impromptu end. Oh, and side note, how busy was the bailiff on this case? He definitely earned his paycheck today.
I never had anybody to show me how to treat a woman or to be a man. Or I'm just here for my kids. Where I'm from, the way that I treat women, it's the only way I know. That's the only thing that's accepted from where I'm from. Just need help just need help.
And that's why you're here. What do you want from this? Because, let's be honest, you didn't have to come.
And just when we thought it was all over, Mr. Wallace came back into the courtroom. He had tears streaming down his face, apologizing profusely for his actions and opening up about his painful past. It was a moment of raw emotion, and even Judge Lake offered her support. Could this have been the turning point we'd been waiting for?
Because when you say to me, I've never learned how to treat a woman or how to be in a relationship, that's the truth, and that's what this courtroom is about. Sometimes you got to lay it on the line, because when you tell the truth, that's where people know where to meet you. I want to meet you exactly where you are. You say, Judge, I don't have a clue.
So far, we'd seen multiple fights between the three ladies, a rage-fueled outburst by Mr. Wallace, and a complete 180-degree pivot by him, all in one sitting. We'd had our fill of courtroom shenanigans, but there's always room for more tea. So the courtroom went silent as Judge Lake prepared to reveal the DNA test results. Would Mr. Wallace be the father to Miss Roberts' child?
Mr. Wallace, you are the father.
I gotta go.
For like the past 2 years, it's been going on every day. You're a great mother to my son, my other kids that I have with everybody else, and to the rest of your kids.
Miss Reed had marched in, demanding a DNA test to prove that her estranged husband, Roniel Wallace, was not the father of Miss Austin's child. And if that wasn't enough, she was also suing Miss Austin for $5,000, claiming the woman had wrecked her marriage and left her struggling financially. But Miss Austin? She stood her ground, insisting that Wallace was the father and that she owed Miss Reed nothing.
Ms. Reed, you are demanding that Ms. Austin have a paternity test administered on her child, whom she claims was fathered by your estranged husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're hoping the DNA test will prove that your husband is not.
It all started when Miss Reed, exhausted from giving birth to her second child, picked up her fiancé's phone. A call from an unknown number. She answered, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But the voice on the other end shattered her world. They were supposed to be a family, but here was Miss Austin, claiming a title that didn't belong to her. The confrontation was immediate.
Okay, Your Honor, I found out about Mrs. Austin. One day I came in from the hospital from having my second child, and Roniel's phone rang, and I just so happened to answer the phone. And Mrs. Austin, she said, I'm Roniel's girlfriend. I said, Roniel's girlfriend, did you know that Roniel was engaged to me or whatever and just had a baby? She said, no.
Miss Reed, reeling from the betrayal, took her children and left. But Wallace came crawling back, begging for forgiveness, and she, against all better judgment, forgave him, again and again. She even married him. Miss Austin insisted she had no idea Wallace was engaged.
He nor told me that they was engaged neither. I found out on Facebook that Roniel and Miss Reed was married when she posted a picture up there of their marriage life. That's when I found out. And yes, I did confront Roniel about the marriage, but at the same token.
Even when Miss Austin discovered Wallace was married, she didn't back off. She made up a series of excuses which set Miss Reed off. She was done playing nice. A woman with self-respect, she argued, wouldn't settle for being a mistress. It was time to meet the man both women were fighting over. When Wallace entered, the room fell silent. This was the man at the center of all this chaos.
How you doing?
Mr. Wallace, let me ask you. You married to Ms. Reed.
Yes.
But you were sleeping with Ms. Austin.
Yes.
You had a baby with Ms. Reed.
3, Your Honor.
3.
Correct.
You might have a baby with Ms. Austin.
Allegedly.
You busy.
Not a good wife, What a thing to say to your wife in front of strangers. Wallace wasn't done. He said that he cheated because he was bored and was too young to be married. He didn't deny it. He simply didn't care. So Miss Reed learned from him. She took her revenge by sleeping with Ms. Austin's boyfriend. Talk about killing two birds with two stones. Well, what about the baby?
To being intimate with Ms. Austin.
Correct.
So do you believe her child is your child?
No, ma'am.
Why is that?
Because she had...
Don't you say no, boy, and she looked just like you. She looked just like you.
The other
she got
guy.
everything. Everything you want, she got on that, everything.
She looked like the other guy.
Quite the dilemma, eh? But this case is just getting started. Not only does Mr. Wallace have a wife and a pregnant mistress, he also has a girlfriend. Yes, you heard that right. And worse, the girlfriend is also pregnant and insists that Mr. Wallace is the father. 1 man, 3 women, 2 paternity cases. You might want to put on your seatbelt.
Thank you so much. Now, what brings you to court today? What would you like to add?
I also have found my old child by Mr. Wallace that he claims he's not the father of.
You also have a 5-month-old child that you say was fathered by Mr. Wallace, but he's denying that child as well.
Yes.
The judge ruled in favor of Ms. Austin. She had not actively chased after Wallace, so Ms. Reed's $5,000 suit can't stand. To tackle these 2 cases, we have to do them one after the other. So Judge Lauren requests the results of the first case. But don't get it twisted. This is where all hell let loose.
Baby Demuriel, Mr. Wallace, you are her father.
Told you, dummy. She looked just like everything, dummy.
You sitting there saying that, but you wishing on strings. Sorry.
Mr. Wallace casually looks on as the 2 women trade words. He's probably thinking of adding another girlfriend to the mix. Anyway, 1 case down, 1 more to go. It appears that Ms. Austin has been honest about the events. Still, Ms. Reed is fighting tooth and nail for her husband. The judge wants to get to the root of the matter today, so she orders the DNA test for Ms. Roberts. While they wait for the results, Judge Lauren questions her about her relationship with Wallace.
Roberts, you are here requesting a paternity test to the defendant, Mr. Wallace, that he is the father of your 5-month-old son, Danielle. I've asked the court to administer a lie detector test to prove he's still trying to be with you. Mr. Wallace.
Ms. Roberts told the court that Mr. Wallace never told her he was married. When the judge asked Mr. Wallace why, he claimed he had forgotten. That's right, he forgot that he was married. Despite the lie, the relationship had gone on. The DNA results confirmed that Mr. Wallace was the father of Ms. Roberts' child, but before then, the court was set on fire.
Okay, I found out about Demuriel because she was calling Ryan's phone and Facebooking him.
Ms. Wallace?
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Austin.
Correction. I found out about... Sorry.
See, y'all trying to confuse me.
Sorry.
Ms. Austin.
Right.
I found out...
Be Miss Wallace.
This was a full-blown battlefield, and the courtroom was the war zone. On one side, Miss Jackson, a grandmother determined to prove that her incarcerated son had been tricked into fatherhood. On the other hand, Miss Pickens, a mother adamant that the child in question was indeed his. What started as a dispute over DNA quickly spiraled into an all-out war of accusations and explosive tempers.
Jackson, you are petitioning the court to determine the paternity of your alleged granddaughter. You claim your son, who is currently incarcerated, would be a fool to think he fathered Miss Pickens' 1-year-old daughter.
From the moment Miss Jackson took the stand, she came in swinging. According to her, there was no way this child belonged to her son. Not a chance of that. And why? Because, in her words, Miss Pickens was no saint. She had been with multiple men around the time of conception. Miss Pickens, however, wasn't about to be steamrolled. She fired back.
Miss Jackson, why did you initially accept the baby if you had doubts?
Your Honor, I never accepted the baby. That's a lie. I stated from day one, I do not believe this is my granddaughter. If I can bring you into my reality.
I want to go in. Tell me what happened.
Once the courtroom calmed down, the real mess began. Miss Pickens admitted that she had been involved with at least 2 men, but that wasn't enough to convince her she had any doubts about who the father was. She was confident that it was Miss Jackson's son. Why? Because he had chased her, pursued her relentlessly. Every day they had been together, and they weren't just holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
Okay.
And this is something you know.
So now, Miss Pickens, let me hear from you. So you find out you're pregnant and you know it's Miss Jackson's son's child, or what happened?
I did believe that it was one of the guys that I was dating, but her
That
son,
would be biologically the answer. It was one of...
Miss Jackson shut that down fast. She had sworn she hadn't even known Miss Pickens existed until she randomly showed up at her doorstep with a baby that was already 4 months old. And now she wants to make it clear that her son, who lived under her roof, had never once mentioned this woman or the child she was claiming as his.
Sex with someone else at that same time.
No, not at that same time.
Well, then how could you call somebody else the father?
When we broke up, but yeah, with the boy.
Because you was having unprotected sex with more than one man.
When we broke up, I did start talking to somebody.
Miss Jackson looked like she had heard enough. When the topic of resemblance came up, it was clear she wasn't going to budge. Ms. Pickens said that although she saw other men while she was messing around with Ms. Jackson's son, she was convinced that the baby belonged to Ms. Jackson's son. Her evidence, the baby resembles Ms. Jackson's son. Ms. Jackson wouldn't hear of it.
And decide, no, it's not that guy. It's Miss Jackson. When did you change your mind and why?
When he pursued me, calling me and like, oh, well, that's my baby, this, that. So, I was
when
like,
you say he pursued you, you meant when you had this baby, Miss Jackson's son.
For Ms. Jackson, the baby didn't look like her son, but Miss Pickens wasn't about to let that slide either. She pointed out that Miss Jackson had, at one point, welcomed her into her home, allowed her and her baby to visit, and had even spent time with the child. Why had she done all that if she never believed this was her grandchild? Miss Jackson's answer, plain and simple.
Actually expressed interest and established a relationship
Never.
with the baby.
I never.
One second, ma'am.
I never established a relationship with this child. We got text messages that will even sit up here and say I never established.
The air crackled with tension. Voices overlapped. The judge had to step in, demanding order, before things got completely out of control. She asked Jerome to stand between the women. She must have sensed that the tension was about to escalate.
So now walk me through your doubt. If your son says, Mama, I'm going to pick up my little girl.
My doubt is, Your Honor, my doubt is because for the simple fact of, no, that was,
you came to pick us up. He ain't
the
never
doubt
came over
was
there
for the simple fact of my son do.
Despite the judge's warning, the women kept going at each other. Every story was dissected, disagreed with, and argued against. But there is a damning revelation. Ms. Jackson told the court that Ms. Pickens had lied about another pregnancy, so she couldn't trust her claim that the child was her son. The judge then turned to Ms. Manning, the current girlfriend of Ms. Jackson's son, and she reignited the flame.
Markel's not even concerned about Kevin being the father. She's concerned about me and Kevin's relationship. From day one, I didn't know Markel from a can of paint. She found me.
So you're Miss Jackson's son's current. Okay, Miss Pickens?
Yes.
Okay, Miss Manning, I'm trying to understand. You're his current girlfriend?
Yes.
Ms. Manning is standing firm with her mother-in-law. There is no way her baby daddy is the father of Ms. Pickens' child. But when the moment of truth arrived, Ms. Manning lit the torch and the courtroom exploded. The peace that the judge had tried to maintain was lost.
Mrs. Jackson, you are not her grandmother.
Got you.
Thank you, God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Ms. Moore's voice was filled with frustration. She had one message. Mr. Butler had doubts about fathering her child, and she blamed only one person, his wife. That woman, she insisted, was behind everything. But Mr. Butler? Oh no, he wasn't taking the blame. His defense?
Your marriage, you testify your husband denies he fathered your 4-year-old daughter, Ronasia.
But Mr. Carmen? He came prepared to do just the opposite. Armed with what he called bombshell evidence, he was ready to prove that another man was the father. And if the DNA test confirms his suspicions, the marriage was over.
Mr. Carmen, you say when the DNA results reveal that you are not Ronasia's father, your marriage is over. You claim to have bombshell evidence that proves another man is the daddy. Is that correct?
They laid out their side of the story. Once upon a time, their love had been electric. Date nights, laughter, and a bond that felt unbreakable. But now, that love was hanging by a thread, and it all traced back to one messy separation.
18 years of marriage, 27 we have been together. Today, our life is really dependent on what's going to happen today.
Wow. And so your marriage is on the line.
Yes, Your Honor.
It started over something small, a disagreement about a rental car, but that tiny crack split their marriage wide open. Frustrated and angry, Mr. Carmen packed his bags and left. But where did he go? Well, he didn't just move out, he moved on.
You got married, started a family. How does it get to the point where there could be a paternity issue at all?
Well, Your Honor, we had a separation. I went to rent a car, and I couldn't get a car, and it was around Easter time. So because I couldn't get the car, I kind of took it out on him.
Let's be honest, he just didn't move on. Mr. Carmen got himself a new place, and let's just say it wasn't a lonely bachelor pad. According to Mrs. Carmen, that apartment became a boom boom room, a party house filled with women, music, and things a married man had no business doing, and she had proof.
He went and rented an apartment.
I went got my own.
Turned it into a boom boom room. I had to pay somebody $100 to go into the home to see what was going on, and it was.
That was all it took. Mrs. Carmen wasn't about to sit at home and cry. If her husband was out there having the time of his life, she was going to get a life of her own. So she did. One man, one relationship, one major complication.
He showed me a videotape. I gave him the $100 bill. He showed me a videotape with him with all kind of women kissing on him, sitting all on his lap, doing all kinds of stuff. So then I decided I gotta go to me. I'm not supposed to sit around, even though, and I can't believe we had been married so long. We should have been able to work through this.
Because shortly after their break, she and Mr. Carmen got back together. No conversations, no explanations, just a silent agreement to move forward. And when she found out she was pregnant, they both assumed, or at least pretended, that the baby was his. But now, 4 years later, that illusion was crumbling fast. Mr. Carmen had doubts, big ones, and he wasn't just going off a gut feeling. He was convinced that Mrs. Carmen's other man was actually the father.
Basically told me that I was pregnant. He was kind of like sleep, sitting at a little table, and then the doctor asked me, was it okay for him to be in the room? And I said, yeah, that's my husband. And then I went on with my pregnancy.
And so were you happy? Did you say, I have doubt? What was your response?
No, at the time, I was like, all right, well, one more, let's do it again.
She swore she had been faithful since their reconciliation. He wasn't buying it. She said he was creating drama where there was none. He was certain she was hiding the truth. The back and forth grew so intense that the judge had to step in, twice. But even that didn't stop the fire.
Still should be able to look at her and tell that's his daughter.
No, you really can't, because we do this every day too.
Your Honor.
So we can't just go on that.
Them ears are so small on both of them. All of the kids got them ears are so little.
They work though.
He can hear. Yeah, they work.
And then, the moment of truth arrived. Mrs. Carmen was on the verge of tears. Mr. Carmen was fired up, and the tension was unbearable. An 18-year-old marriage was on the line. The judge held the DNA results in her hand. The courtroom fell silent.
Mr. Carmen, you are the father.
Ms. Brogdon stood across from Ms. Sugden and her mother, her face set with determination. She had come for one thing: proof. Proof that her 1-year-old daughter, Quamira, was the biological child of Tyrell Jones, the man she claimed as the father. But the other side? They weren't having it. Not one bit.
Ms. Brogdon, you are in court to prove to Ms. Jones and her daughter that her deceased son, Tyrell Jones, fathered your 1-year-old daughter, Quamira. You say once the DNA proves your case, they need to step up for your baby.
Ms. Sugden, Tyrell's sister, was adamant. There was no way this child belonged to her late brother. The mere accusation, she argued, was a disgrace, a stain on her grieving family, and a cruel burden on their mother, who was still mourning Tyrell's death. But Ms. Brogdon wasn't backing down.
So, Ms. Brogdon, how has your daughter been affected by the denial?
She has been affected from no partake in her father's side of the family. My baby's 1, she only saw their side like 4 times. She only see them when it's time for gatherings and stuff about Tyrell.
2 brothers? That's enough to create doubt. The revelation had everyone reeling. Even Judge Lauren had to pause, making sure she had heard correctly. Ms. Brogdon admitted it, but insisted that Tyrell was the father. The other brother, Paul? That had been one mistake. A single night of anger when Tyrell had betrayed her. A bad decision, yes, but a paternity risk? No, she argued. The timing didn't line up.
Like close to the end, Tyrell started cheating, he started staying out, he started doing all this type of stuff. It was one night, Tyrell lied and said he was at the police district. I went to the police district to check
checked to see if he was there. He wasn't there. I went to his grandmother's house where he said he was dead.
Ms. Sugden scoffed at that logic. Then came another twist. Ms. Brogdon, under fire, made a statement that sent another ripple through the courtroom. If Tyrell wasn't the father, she said, then Paul was. Either way, her daughter was still part of their family. The room erupted again.
Personally, that she was sleeping with two brothers around the same time.
Your Honor. I slept with Paul one time.
All it takes is one time, sweetheart.
No.
So, Ms. Sugden, do you think it's a possibility that your other brother could be this child's father?
I think there's a possibility. Yes, I got that news. So yes, now I think there's a possibility.
The whole room was spiraling, the argument turning personal, cutting deep. This wasn't just about a child. This was about betrayal, about family lines being blurred and bonds being shattered. Ms. Sugden laid it all out. Ms. Brogdon had torn her family apart, had made her brothers fight over her, and had left wounds that still hadn't healed. And now she wanted them to accept a child they weren't sure even belonged to them?
You said at first you only slept with Paul once.
Exactly.
And it was nowhere near the window of conception. And then you just said now it's either one of their babies. If it's not Tyrell's, it's Paul. So either way, the child is related to you. So which?
No way.
Ms. Brogdon brought a witness to prove that her claims were true. This is not just any witness. She had called the mother of Tyrell's middle child. There is little chance that this woman would be lying. There's nothing in it for her. Or is there? But then, the real fireworks started.
And you're here testifying on behalf of Ms. Brogdon, who claims that he fathered her child as well.
Yes.
What do you have to add?
When she called me and said she had the baby, Tiara was at my house. I said, Tiara, she had the baby, one go. What I'm going to the hospital for?
Ms. Brogdon is pissed. After raising her child alone, struggling without support, after watching her baby fall ill and suffer seizures while Tyrell's family stayed distant, she had been left to carry the weight of it all while they refused to acknowledge her daughter. She wasn't going to continue like that.
You're saying that Ms. Sugden and Ms. Jones, they didn't know anything throughout the pregnancy?
No, they did know something about
You believe they did?
Yes, they did. I came to the funeral pregnant. I was 8 months pregnant. How didn't y'all know I was pregnant?
See you at the funeral.
Ms. Brogdon wasn't the only one who brought witnesses. Ms. Sugden also had her witness. And this witness isn't here for peace. The testimony lasted for a few seconds. And then there was the explosion. Accusations flying, voices clashing. Even the judge had to step in, demanding order.
That's why. That's the bottom line of what your testimony, that it's someone else.
It couldn't have been anybody. And
we don't know if that's our baby. No, I'm running up no hospital.
It could have been done a year ago. And the crazy.
Ms. Brogdon, undeterred, hit back just as hard. If they had doubts, the DNA test would clear everything up. But deep down, she already knew the truth. Judge Lauren opened the envelope, and all the noise and tension collapsed into a deafening silence.
Miss Christina Jones is related to Quamira Jones. Now we will determine Mr. Paul Jones is not the father. Which means Tyrell Jones is Quamira's biological father.
Ms. Parker stormed into court with fire in her eyes and a mission to prove that Mr. Morton was the father of her 7-month-old son, Aaron. Not only did she insist that Mr. Morton was Aaron's father, but she also accused his girlfriend of poisoning his mind against her. Jealousy, she claimed, because the girlfriend hadn't been able to conceive a child with him. And if that wasn't enough, she wanted him to cough up over $2,000 in back child expenses.
In your suit, you claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say the only reason he denies paternity is because his girlfriend turned him against you because she's been unable to conceive a child with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
But Mr. Morton, he didn't have it. He was ready to fight this one to the bitter end. He swore up and down that the timeline didn't add up, and when those DNA results came back, he was certain the truth would clear his name.
And you say the timing of Miss Parker's pregnancy doesn't add up, and when today's DNA results come in, you will win the case.
But Ms. Parker wasn't backing down. It turns out that this wasn't just a case of a man stepping out on his girlfriend. Oh no, things were way messier than that. Ms. Parker wasn't just seeing Mr. Morton on the side, she was deeply entangled in a threesome with him and his girlfriend. That's right. At times, all three were involved. Other times, it was just her and Mr. Morton. And according to her, anytime she wanted to be with him, she was. Period. The audience gasped. Even Judge Lauren had to take a moment.
Sex with Mr. Morton if he has a girlfriend.
First of all, Your Honor, that's my baby father. Anytime I want to have sex with him, I'm going to have sex. You understand? Like,
I was vulnerable. He called me. So, you know, we did what we did.
So, hold on.
However, if Ms. Parker thought this revelation would put her in the driver's seat, she was wrong. Because Mr. Morton's girlfriend, Ms. Lemon, had her own version of events. According to her, she had been the one who invited Ms. Parker into their bedroom in the first place. Out of pity, she claimed she let her man sleep with Ms. Parker because Ms. Parker was lonely and pregnant at the time.
Your Honor, the only reason why she was able to have sex with us is because I asked my boyfriend to have sex with her because she was lonely. My desires, me and my little freakiness, I said, my boyfriend, can you have sex with your pregnant baby mother because she's in need?
Pause, Your Honor.
How would she know if she's not there?
Your Honor, that is not true. Before I even left to go anywhere, before I was gone for a while, we was having sex before then.
The back and forth between the two women was electric, filled with side eyes, interruptions, and an almost laughable level of confidence. Mr. Morton rolled his eyes. He had done his own math, and in his mind, the numbers just weren't adding up. He and Ms. Parker had been intimate in early May. Yet the baby was born in December. 7 months? That didn't sit right with him at all.
There's a possibility that this could be your child?
It could not be my child because the timing is not right at all.
I'm not tripping off of that. I know that that's my son's father. I know. He looks exactly like my other son.
And so you're doubtful, Mr. Morton, because you say there's a timing issue.
Ms. Parker didn't budge. She knew the baby was Mr. Morton's. Why? Because according to her, he was the only one she had unprotected sex with. No doubts, no confusion, and no need for calculations. Then came another plot twist.
Parker, when was the last time you were intimate with someone else before that May 11th period when you were intimate with Mr.
The only person, Your Honor, I'll lie to you not. The only person that I have unprotected sex with was my baby father. Was Mr. Morton.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Your Honor.
That's a lie.
She clocking
We down, yep, I'm clocking it.
You
just
can't
like you
clock
clock
it, though,
mine. I
baby.
can.
You can't.
We downtown.
Ms. Parker had been pregnant by another man before, but she had a miscarriage. And shortly after that, she got pregnant again. This time, she claimed, by Mr. Morton. The whole courtroom was spinning. Even Judge Lauren had to take a step back and lay it all out.
Your Honor, I do what I do. I love me. You understand me? I don't have unprotected sex with nobody but the ones that I trust. I trust this man. So yeah, every time I have sex.
But Mr. Morton's girlfriend, who is also Ms. Parker's girlfriend, wasn't convinced. According to Ms. Parker, a mistake in the due date initially led her to think that Mr. Morton couldn't be the father, but now that the mistake has been corrected, she is 100% convinced that Mr. Morton is the father. To back her case, she brought Mr. Morton's mother to support her testimony.
When she first had baby Aaron, she did not have anything because we were supposed to try to get together a baby shower. So she did have him early. So as far as support system, it was me and my daughter, which is Eric's sister, and Mr. Morton's sister.
And her mother.
And excuse me, I'm talking. It don't matter.
Judge Lauren had heard enough. The room was already boiling over with drama, with Ms. Parker and her girlfriend going at each other over their relationship. But there was only one thing that could settle this once and for all: the DNA results.
Mr. Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. I told you, like, I'm not no.
You know what, as women, sometimes we just have to be honest enough to say, you know what, that hurt me.
This is what I wanted. I wanted my family. He wanted the same thing. I didn't know he was married until, a week later, before I had my son. He didn't tell me. He denied it when he came to the hospital.
Mr. Silva has shown no remorse for cheating on his girlfriend and says that men are actually allowed to cheat on their partners and that it is not a big deal. His girlfriend, Ms. Reeves, says that is dumb and that he is the father of her child, Legend. Of course, Mr. Silver here denies paternity and says the baby could never be his. And here is how it all began.
Ms. Reeves, you are here today to prove that the defendant, Mr. Silva, is the biological father of your 7-month-old son, Legend. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Silva, you now stand here in court with your own case because you say there is absolutely no way you are the biological father of the plaintiff's son. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wow. She still believes he is a good man? Most women would already be on their way out of that relationship if a man expressed doubt that her child belonged to him. But it seems like Ms. Reeves here loves Mr. Silva very much. Anyway, let us listen to what Mr. Silva has to say.
Mr. Silva, why do you have doubts?
I just don't trust her, Your Honor. I feel like she's tricking me into believing that I'm Legend's father. I grew up loving women, loving sex.
You grew up loving sex?
To me, I always felt like it was okay for men to go out, have sex, and, cheat, come home to their family, and women can't go out, have sex, and, come home.
Yeah. He is definitely not the only man who has gotten it into his head that he can basically do whatever he wants without anyone stopping him. The funny thing is that Ms. Reeves is smiling through all of this. She really does not care that her boyfriend is the sort of man she would not want her daughter around. Anyway, it kind of gets worse because Mr. Silver here is not done.
Well, Your Honor, I feel
Every
like,
man feels
you know,
like that.
God created men to conquer, to overrule, and woman cannot empower men.
What are we on, Game of Thrones? First of all, you said God created men to conquer,
To
and
rule,
what else?
conquer, and woman
to rule.
cannot overpower men.
That is so interesting, Mr. Silver. Why are you sitting in a court with a female judge then if you are here to conquer? Does not look like a lot of conquering is happening here with that wacky hair. And why is Ms. Reeves laughing? Is this supposed to be a joke? And what does she mean she deals with this every day? It kinda is her fault if this is what she has to deal with every day. But then Judge Lake asks a really important question.
Have other women outside the relationship, but women cannot, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's just say hypothetically, you're here to conquer, hypothetically. Why can't you conquer your doubt and conquer your fear that she's also doing something that she says she's not doing?
Well, Your Honor, I feel like if I'm out here, you know, doing what I'm doing.
So he basically does not have a reason for his doubt, and is just asking for a DNA test to see if he can opt out of being responsible for the kid. What a strange thing for a male conqueror to want to do. Not sure I know any conquerors who would be this scared of taking responsibility for their kids. And here is Ms. Reeves backing me up too.
Why? Why would you expect her to sit at home and allow you to cheat on her?
It's just really the fact that she came home, she came telling me that I'm the father of Legend.
When do you find out you're pregnant, Ms. Reeves?
Well, we was broken up at the time, but immediately, as soon as I told him that I was pregnant, he was like, okay, with who?
Your Honor, we were broken up for 4 weeks, Your Honor.
Our boyfriend, Mr. Silver, did not come here to play. He is definitely living up to his very, very delusional words, but at least he is living up to something, right? Let us face the facts for a bit. Sure, it is bad that Mr. Silver is doing all that cheating, but that is not the point of a paternity question. The point is whether Ms. Reeves was doing all of this as well, and here is what Mr. Silver says about that.
And I didn't hear from her. So at the time, you know, she gets booked to model and promote events, and you know, that's what she loved doing. So on her Snapchat, she's turning up, getting lit, you know, with men, you know, drinking, smoking. So how do you expect me to believe that you've been gone for 3-4 weeks?
So it does not matter to Ms. Reeves at all, and she says that she was not even cheating. But even if she was cheating, that would not matter at all because that was not during her conception window. Now Mr. Silver tells us the reason why he felt he had to sign the birth certificate, and it is something. You have got to listen to it yourself.
You know, Legend was born, the doctor came in the room, straight to me and gave me the paper. I didn't want to make her look bad. So
you signed the birth certificate?
Yes, I felt pressure to sign.
You felt like in that moment, her whole family is around.
Yes.
And if you start talking about DNA tests and not signing birth certificates, it sheds a negative light on her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wow, no way Silva the Conqueror felt so pressured that he felt he had to sign a birth certificate. That is horrible. Anyway, let us put an end to this issue and find out if Mr. Silva is really the father of her kid.
Mr. Silva, you are the father. You are the father.
That's all I needed to know, Your Honor. Now, I'm sorry, and you know, I did have my doubt with Legend, but I know that he's my son, and I would truly, fully love him, and I want us to move on in our relationship.
Mr. Goodson is a married man who claims he is not the father of his side chick's miracle baby. This man here is 100% certain Ms. McCrary's child is not his, and he is sure that Judge Lake will rule in his favor. But how can he be so sure? Let us find out.
Ms. McCrary, you have petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that the defendant is the father of your miracle baby, 18-month-old Arian McCrary. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Goodson, you say the plaintiff has brought the wrong man to court and you refuse to do anything for a child who is not biologically yours. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wow. Mr. Goodson must be absolutely certain that this child isn't his, because he has contributed absolutely nothing to her welfare. And on top of that, he ignores Ms. McCrary and her child every chance he gets.
Mr. Goodson, did you walk past Arian in the store and not even acknowledge her at all?
No, Your Honor, that's not true. We actually seen each other at the same time. She was coming and I was going toward the checkout. She was going, I guess she was going to get an item or something. And we never said, I didn't even know that Aaron was with her. I didn't even see Aaron. I seen her, but I didn't even see Aaron.
Really? Wow, that is such a lame excuse. And Mr. Goodson now says he wanted to marry his missus here, but she disappeared on him. But that does not make any sense whatsoever because Mr. Goodson here has a totally different family and lifestyle altogether. So how is he even going to marry Ms. McCrary in the first place?
So wait, at the time you all were being intimate, he still had this other family and this other life?
Oh, okay. Yes, Your Honor.
Oh,
okay.
That's important testimony. Yeah. So when you said you were going to reach out to her to let her know you wanted to make things a little more serious, how serious could it get when you already had another person?
We was married but separated.
Okay.
Yep, that is it. A man is married until he is divorced. And it seems like Mr. Goodson here wanted to eat his cake, have it, and exchange it for a Rolls Royce. Because no sane woman would go into that insane situationship with him. Anyway, here's how Ms. McCrary puts it.
Was that why you were reluctant, or were you reluctant for another reason as well, Ms. McCrary?
No, Your Honor, that's basically, the reason. Why would I want to be with a man and you already got ties with another situation? You got to stop what you're doing, and then you saying you set me down and never happened that way. When you're talking to someone about committing in a relationship.
Wow. They really enjoyed themselves if a kid came out of it. The funny thing is that Mr. Goodson basically has nothing to say to Ms. McCrary, and to me, that sounds like she is telling the complete truth. Here is what happened when Ms. McCrary found out she was pregnant. Here is what she did.
What happens when you find out you're pregnant?
Well, of course, I told family members, and, they were up for my decision, and I had to just sit, think about it. I gave him a call. You came right away. So when I told him, he was just up for it. I'll be there. I'll rub your stomach.
Yeah, she was super wrong about that. But now, Mr. Goodson is denying that he even said any of those things. He says he never promised to be there for her during her pregnancy, and she is just lying.
Mr. Goodson, you promised Ms. McCrary that you were going to be there for her?
Doctor's appointment.
No, Your Honor.
Did you believe?
I asked her why she telling me. We haven't been talking, had sex, did that for, like I said, about 3 to 4 months. Then all of a sudden, I get a call and say, hey, I'm pregnant. And so I was, my expression was like, well, why are you telling me?
Oh, now I kind of see the point. Now let us ask the million-dollar question. Sure, Ms. McCrary says she remembers being intimate with Mr. Goodson during the window of conception, but was there someone else she might have been with?
So in your testimony a few minutes ago, Ms. McCrary, you said you realized Mr. Goodson fell in the window of conception. When you had to think about it, did you have to think about it because you were intimate with somebody else around the same time?
No, Your Honor, I thought about it because as a woman, you said a real woman shouldn't have sex.
Yeah, that was a good impression, for sure. Now that we have heard all the testimony, it is time to get back to what really matters, the DNA test itself. What will those results say? Will they vindicate Ms. McCrary, or will Mr. Goodson end up having some remorse?
Mr. Goodson, you are the father.
Oh, okay.
You are the father.
Okay, well, I want to apologize to you. Now that it's over with, you'll never have another problem out of me.
A woman knows who she has sex with. I don't know about me.
Sometimes
but
they
I know.
don't, Mr.
Well, I'm one of them. I'm one of them that know.
Ms. Thomas here has finally cracked the case. She thinks the only reason why Mr. Nelson is denying her kid is because he recently just got married to someone else and is trying to maintain that relationship. But Mr. Nelson says that is not even close. Not even a tiny bit close.
Ms. Thomas, you claim you spent 6 years in a relationship with the defendant, Mr. Taylor, and gave him 5 beautiful children. In return, he cheated on you and is now questioning the paternity of your youngest child, 8-month-old Jakai. You are here to prove paternity and win him back. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Thomas says she was having the relationship of her life with Mr. Nelson before all of this happened, and they used to be the closest partners in the world. And now, she wants that feeling back. But that will not happen if Mr. Nelson continues to insist that this baby is not his. And yes, there is one other reason.
So, Ms. Thomas, why put up with that?
We went through hard times. Like, why wouldn't you want to make something like that work with somebody you had all these years with, all these kids with, and you just want to...
That's why I don't even know the chat. Like, man,
He gave up the relationship. I wish it was that easy for me during them times to just throw it away.
It was easy. I asked her, Your Honor, I said, are you gonna leave this guy alone? She said no.
Phew, that is cold. So they already have 5 kids. Well, here is how Mr. Nelson found out that Ms. Thomas was cheating on him. Hang on to your seats because this ride is about to get really wild.
I said, so you're gonna delete everything out your phone and everything, change your number and everything.
So wait a minute, you had 4 children together and then you find out Ms. Thomas is with another guy?
Yes, that's
How did you find that out?
The dude picture was popping up on her phone.
It didn't start like that. He decided to leave because at that time we did grow apart.
I used to find stuff on her purse and everything. She'd be like, I'm going to work today.
Yeah, Ms. Thomas, I am sure that makes it so better. Mr. Nelson, would you please chill out? She was not cheating on you with multiple men. It was just one man. What can you do? Blame her? No way. Anyway, Ms. Thomas has a really great reason for cheating.
Why? Why did you get in a relationship with this one man? As retaliation for his cheating?
Basically. So he seen how I felt all them years he cheated on me. He felt it. And
So how long had you all been together when you discovered she was cheating?
We was like...
5?
Yeah.
5 years?
Yes.
And 4 children?
Yes.
Guys, remember that these guys already have 5 kids together. That is crazy. And then Mr. Nelson drops another bombshell evidence that proves that Ms. Thomas was actually cheating on him.
I had went through her phone. She was like, every time I had sex with him, and this is after you left, I started having sex with this guy. So I was like, all right. So then I went back further in her account. I'm like, so what's these days for? She was like, because I said, so we was together then when he was doing it. She was like, okay, so what? I had a slip up.
He was gone, Your Honor.
So wait a minute, how did you find out about the other guy exactly, Mr. Nelson?
I told him.
She honest, I'm not gonna lie, she do be honest.
That is right, she was. This means that it is super possible that this kid does not belong to him at all. Then Ms. Thomas says that Mr. Nelson was already cheating on her with Ms. Campbell, who is the new girl that he has now gotten married to. The fact that Ms. Campbell even married him after having 4 kids is crazy on its own. But do you know what is crazier? They are still sleeping together.
Mind you, he was cheating on me with her. I didn't know about her until I found out she was calling him through Facebook. And he was trying to lie then because we were still messing around even when he was with her.
I wish I had the old phone. I could show you.
I have text messages also that we still mess around still to this day.
That is crazy. So they are still sleeping together? Anyway, what did Ms. Campbell expect? This man already has 4 kids with Ms. Thomas. He is never ever going to leave her alone, and she will remain the 3rd wheel in her marriage. Anyway, let us hear from Ms. Campbell before we get to hear the results.
The video is dated April 3rd, which would have been, I guess, the first day or so that she had showed up in Greensboro. All I know is I saw her demeanor when she came around, and she was kind of like high-stepping. I'm like, okay, this is a person that's supposedly supposed to be so hurt. Like, why is she grinning? And then I saw his demeanor, and he looked guilty. So I put 2 and 2 together. You know, something's not right. Why is she extra happy and he's looking crazy?
Wow. Really, Mr. Nelson? You are just now talking about some covenant? As you would expect, these women really don't like each other, and that hate spills into a huge argument that Judge Lake has to break up.
I'm going from wifey to side chick.
No, I'm not nobody's side chick because your husband is the one that tells me he wants to leave.
But that makes you a side chick.
No,
that
it
makes you a
doesn't.
side chick. We're
No, it does
legally
not.
married.
Wait a minute.
No,
it does not. No, it does not.
Listen.
He told me he married you out of spite.
No, I did.
Let's get some order. Let's get some order.
Yeah, they are definitely confused. It is time to check out the results and see whether Mr. Nelson has 4 kids or 5 with the mother of his kids. And the results will definitely leave you shocked.
Mr. Nelson, you are the father. It's number 5.
I met him and he already had, 4 kids with her. So what's one more?
I'll tell you what one more is. One more means this isn't over. This child deserves to know his father.
Mr. James allegedly got Miss Kingsbury pregnant while his girlfriend was also pregnant. But not to worry, guys. Mr. James says he has undeniable evidence that he did not actually get her pregnant. That evidence better be a DNA test. Well, here's how it all starts out.
Miss Kingsbury, you say you were in a romantic relationship with the defendant, Mr. James, and planned to have a child together, but when your 11-month-old son, Chance, was born, Mr. James turned on you and began to deny paternity. You are here to prove Mr. James is the biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Whoa, Mr. James sure is careful with his words. But here's the question. If Mr. James was not in love with her, why did he want to get her pregnant in the first place? Well, he has an answer for that, and it will blow your mind.
I didn't say we don't have love for each other. I said I wasn't in love. I got love.
So why were you planning to have a baby with someone you weren't in love with?
My reason was because I thought she was a very nice woman when I first met her. Or whatever.
Because he loved me.
I meet very nice people every day. I don't want to have babies with them.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that is why Mr. James does not trust Ms. Kingsbury. He got envious because she did not tell him the truth, and that is what got him upset. But how does that have any effect on whether he is the father of this kid anyway? Well, Mr. James says that aside from that, he also heard rumors about her being with other guys.
James, what were you wondering? Why lie?
Yeah, why lie? Why not tell the truth in the first place?
But I told you. Did you start hearing rumors about her with other guys?
Yes, I heard. Yeah, I heard rumors. Like my friends that stay in the neighborhood, they used to tell me that she used to get out cars with her, wherever men's these are, I don't know, her co-workers or like what you just explained her.
Honestly, it seems like Ms. Kingsbury is just waffling. We need to get to the bottom of this case quickly, because Mr. James can spend years here just talking about that one singular lie. You see, Mr. James also has his own dark secret.
I want to find out what happened when she told you she was pregnant. You weren't excited about the news?
I was asleep. I was working. I was tired.
No, he wasn't worried about my pregnancy because he was busy getting someone else pregnant.
I was working.
So wait a minute. At the time Ms. Kingsbury was pregnant, you had someone else pregnant as well?
Well, yeah, you can say that.
What? That is crazy. Ms. Kingsbury needs to run that by us one more time. What does she mean? He jumped in his car, followed her, and started yelling that she was the reason he got someone else pregnant.
I stayed at his house the night before,
no
and that morning when
arguing.
we got up, he was arguing with me about diabetes. I'm a diabetic. I got frustrated, and I walked out his house, and I walked down the street to my house. He jumped in his car and proceeded to follow behind me and yelled out the window. That's why I got someone else pregnant.
Mr. James really sounds like some psychopath here. But at least he has got his irrefutable medical evidence that he cannot be the father, right? Right? Well, there is only one way to find out.
Now, let's talk about some evidence.
When I heard about the sickle cell trait, I did my research with that trait. I have to be a carrier, or somebody on my side had to be a carrier. I don't have it, my mother don't have it.
How do you know you don't have it?
Because the doctor never said I had the type of trait, even though
Have you ever gone in and been tested specifically?
Not specifically.
Well, first of all, the sickle cell trait can exist in your body without you actually having sickle cell, and it only expresses itself when both parents have a carrier trait. And since most hospitals don't test for it, it is near impossible for people to actually know when they have it. Anyway, it is time to check out the DNA test results and see what it says.
Mr. James.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are the father. That's your beautiful little boy. How do you feel? It feels good to know for sure?
Yes.
You don't have to apologize. What are you feeling in this moment, Miss Kingsbury?
Just thinking about everything I went through. I don't have to lie about who my child father is.
I want a DNA test. She thought you accepted it.
Too emotional and too many lies. Montez was my son.
Because we want people to have the truth.
I just felt like he didn't put enough effort.
I don't know whether what he's saying is true or not.
This is what you paying.
Tell the court, what happened 6 months ago?
She lied to me, she lied to my daughter.
What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What do you need? Whether the relationship was good or bad, you knew that families go through ups and downs. That's a lie.
Ms. Thomas and her mother are here today to prove that Mr. Powell is indeed Ms. Thomas's father. Ms. Thomas says Ms. Powell has always denied being her father despite taking on some of the responsibilities of being her father. And she wants to clear up the confusion because she wants him to walk her down the aisle. Mr. Powell, on the other hand, says he's not sure he's Ms. Thomas's father because her mother was with a lot of different men when she got pregnant with her.
In all your life, you believe Mr. Powell was your biological father, but he just didn't come around?
So I was always told he's my biological father. I felt like he was. Of course he wasn't around. He could have been around more.
And how does it feel that he didn't take that opportunity?
I just felt like he didn't put enough effort.
Mr. Powell says the reason he never put the effort in is that he found out Ms. Thomas's mom was pregnant through a family member, and that family member told him authoritatively that she was another man's child.
And another family member was like, well, nah, I think it's yours. So I don't know who to believe. Then a close friend of mine got me back in touch with her, and she was showing. And I was like, who kid is that? And she was like, this your baby.
Oh, so she told you this is your baby?
Yeah.
So this entire time, you've had doubt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes.
This means that Mr. Powell has always had doubts about being Ms. Thomas's father. Mrs. Shelton, Ms. Thomas's mother, doesn't totally agree with this version of events. Instead, she says all of this was completely avoidable.
Me and Cole always been friends, you know. If he had any doubt from the time that I told him that I was pregnant, even when I wasn't even showing. He could have said something then. And then when the baby was born, he came and saw the baby, everything. He even told me he wanted me to name her Nicole, after him. His name is Cole, her name is Nicole. I mean, he spent time with me and the baby.
But a man can do all of that when caught up in the euphoria of potentially having a child while not really believing that the child is his. We've seen many such cases in paternity court. Mrs. Shelton feels this is unfair to her because Mr. Powell never really said he wants a paternity test. Mr. Powell isn't on board with this version of events either.
The fact that she never heard you say, I don't think she's my daughter, I want a DNA test, she thought you accepted it.
Well, I remember telling her one time that I thought she did look like her ex when she was smaller. But that was like in probably 96, 97. Then I ended up going to the military in like 98. I get some child support papers saying that I owe child support.
Mrs. Shelton says she never actually put Mr. Powell on child support, and the government just did that automatically because she sought public assistance.
So I asked the JAG person, in the Navy, well, I want to do a DNA test if I'm finna pay child support. He was like, nah, there's no way you can. You must have missed all that. They saying, this is what you paying.
Excuse me.
When did that happen? I'm going to come to you, Miss Shelton. Just give me one moment.
1999.
When was that? 1999.
Yes.
Your Honor, can I say
Miss
something?
Thomas was like 4 or 5 then.
Yes.
If it turns out that Mr. Powell isn't actually Ms. Thomas's father, he would have paid thousands of dollars for a child that isn't his and would also be in thousands of dollars of debt. That could be soil destroying. I
was at a party this year. I was discussing with some of the folks that I know back in the day. I was telling them about the situation I'm going through because they knew Miss Shelton. And I was discussing with one of my guys. He was like, let me see the picture of her. So I showed him the picture of her and I'm looking at him and looking at her. And I was like, dude, you ever mess with China before? And he was like, yeah, I have.
Really?
Excuse me.
And I'm looking at him and looking at the picture like they
Your
even
Honor,
got some.
that's a lie.
Wow, that's incredible. If true. Mrs. Shelton says it's a complete lie and Mr. Powell is just making somebody up for the court. To be fair to Mrs. Shelton, it really just sounds like a complete lie. Because how likely is it that he would randomly bump into Ms. Thomas's real father at a party? Come on, guys. That's like a 1 in 100 million chance event. Mrs. Shelton also says she wasn't sleeping with anyone else aside from Mr. Powell when she got pregnant with Ms. Thomas. Well, let's see what the DNA test results have to say about that.
Mr. Powell, you are not the father. That is not your daughter's biological father. 22 years. 22 years of being told one man is your father, and the entire time, he is not. Was there some other man? Was there this man from the party?
There was no other man.
Mr. Powell, do you know where this man is from that party? Do you know where he is?
Yeah, I can get in touch.
Mr. Haggerty is in court today determined to get his child, Ms. Wandick, back. He claims she's distanced herself from him because her mother now claims, after 30 years, that he's not her father. Mr. Haggerty says this isn't possible, and that Ms. Wandick is obviously his child. Ms. Wandick, on the other hand, says she's stuck between her parents and doesn't know what to believe since her mother told her another man is her father. The good thing is Ms. Davis, Ms. Wandick's mother, is also in court today to clarify her claims.
I'll start with you, Mr. Haggerty. Why do you say Ms. Davis is a liar?
She lied to me, she lied to my daughter. When she first got pregnant, she said I was the dad. And after 29 years, I come to find out now that possibly that I'm not the father.
You've raised this beautiful young woman and you've thought of her as your daughter and nothing else?
For the whole 29 years, yes, Your Honor.
That's cold. That comment by Ms. Davis is incredible. Reducing 30 years of care, love, and affection to just being a playmate is an extraordinary thing to do, and Ms. Davis has no remorse for doing it.
And Ms. Wandick, you felt the same?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is the man you always knew to be daddy?
Yes, Your Honor.
He's not. He's not. He was just a playmate, Your Honor. I mean, but I know who the biological father is.
Excuse me, Your Honor. She's saying that he was just a playmate, but how is that fair to this man and to me for her to be saying that he's just a playmate when from jump you let this man to believe that he was my father?
That's right. It's not fair, but Ms. Davis actually doesn't care at all. She looks like she's just here to have fun and break Mr. Haggerty's heart. This is despite the fact that Mr. Haggerty was always there for his daughter and treated her in the best way he could.
So you grew up believing Mr. Haggerty was your biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you talk to me about the relationship you had with Mr. Haggerty growing up?
Mr. Haggerty was a wonderful father to me. Like, I was in and out of the system, and he'll come pick me up from my foster care home, take me around to his side of the family, which is, they're awesome. He's just been an outstanding dad. He didn't treat me no different from my sister.
To shed more light on this issue, we are joined in court by Carolyn Doro, who's Ms. Davis's sister. She's standing with Mr. Haggerty and plans to give her testimony for him.
My sister called me. She said me and Craig just got through doing, and she said I'm pregnant. And she told me, our family, that Craig was Marzella's father.
Mr. Haggerty.
Mr. Haggerty.
She said it?
She said it.
She didn't name anybody else?
She didn't name no one else but Craig Haggerty. She looked just like him.
But we all know that facial resemblance means nothing in paternity court, right? There are so many cases where the plaintiffs are sure of a DNA outcome because of facial resemblance, and they end up being fantastically wrong. So no, we cannot access paternity through facial resemblance alone.
That Mr. Haggerty was not your biological father.
When I really found out things was I was at a sibling's house and this other man came up to me and he started crying and I'm like, whoa, why are you crying? Like, who are you? I don't know you. Why are you crying? Why are you looking at me just crying? And he was like, you don't know who I am? He was like, I'm your father. I'm like,
how old were you?
I was 19 years old, Your Honor. And I was like, yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Mr. Haggerty says he has no idea about this other man, and he is just hearing about it now for the first time. Ms. Wandick says she didn't tell him because she distanced herself from him. In fact, the last time she saw him was 9 years ago. This is incredible. What does Ms. Davis have to say for herself?
How does Mr. Haggerty get into the equation?
Question, because I'm gonna explain it to you, Your Honor, because I wanted a baby by Mr. Haggerty so bad. So bad I had 4 miscarriages by him.
So you lie?
4 miscarriages. So I put Nicole on him. But I know who the father is.
Let me see that evidence. Let me have your folder as well, please, ma'am. Thank you. So what we see...
This shows that Mr. Haggerty really believed that Ms. Wandick was his child, even though she didn't have his name on her birth certificate. He cared for her despite having no legal claim to her. In fact, before she went into the system, she was living with him. Mr. Haggerty has one of his other children, Vanessa Haggerty, in court today as well, and she also says she believes Ms. Wandick is her sister.
Of course I do. She looks like my dad. She looks more like my dad than I do. That's all I've ever known. Like when we were young, we dressed alike. She was with us for a while, so yes, I believe that's my sister, wholeheartedly.
Oh, so precious, y'all holding hands. I love that. And I could see throughout the testimony the tears coming down your eyes.
Oh, of course. It's emotional. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to go 30 years without knowing if they have a sister, a younger sister at that? I always wanted one. You know what I mean? So, of course, it's emotional.
The question now is this. Why did Ms. Davis do all of this? If it turns out Ms. Wandick indeed is another man's child, the question is, why did Ms. Davis go on with the lie for 20 years? Ms. Wandick thinks she knows the answer.
So, Ms. Wandick, I want to understand. What do you believe was your mother's motivation for creating this type of paternity saga?
Money. When this other man accumulated all this money, that's when she would say, that's who really your dad is. You need to get some money from him. So it was all about the money, because that's when she told me.
So when was this?
This was back in 2016, Your Honor.
That's a heavy accusation. It would be insane if that were truly the reason why Ms. Davis was doing all of this. Money? She was willing to destroy the relationships she'd built for over 20 years, just for a few more $1,000s per year? That's unusually cruel. However, Ms. Davis denies this, as anyone would expect her to. She says there's a different reason.
I felt guilty.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's too emotional and too many lies.
Yeah, you're the big liar. You're the one that's lying.
Yeah, well, if you say
29 years of lying.
Well, if you say so, I am. But I'm here today to get the truth.
All on yourself.
Your Honor,
you can only be mad at yourself.
So we can get the results and get the
truth. So I want
and
everybody
no longer be a factor in my life.
No.
And you think that
Ms. Davis, don't say that.
That's incredible. Well, it's time to see the truth and deal with it. Is Ms. Davis lying, or is Ms. Wandick really another man's child?
Mr. Haggerty, you are not the father. Ms. Wandick, are you okay, honey?
Something that could have been settled 29 years ago.
You can stay there with her.
You still look like me. I don't care what it says.
Ms. Wandick, I know I could not give you the level of closure you truly needed. You got one part of the truth.
Ms. Jasmine St. James says she's always been a daddy's girl, for at least the first 33 years of her life. She says just 6 months ago, after an argument, her father told her that she wasn't his daughter. Today, she's in court with her brother to find out whether her father is truly her biological dad. Mr. Esau stands by his statement and says he just could never find the right time to tell his daughter the truth about her paternity.
Ms. St. James.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell the court, what happened 6 months ago?
I wrote my dad a letter right before Christmas, a couple weeks before Christmas, just
telling him how I felt about him not being in his grandchildren's lives and how he's not being the father that we need since we lost our mother at a young age. And that was his response, is the reason why I haven't been in your life is because the reason why he didn't answer any of my questions.
That is not true.
That was the very first time Miss St. James had ever heard of a paternity question relating to her.
That Miss St. James was not your biological daughter.
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
What did her mother tell you?
She just basically told me she was pregnant.
This was not something you knew for certain?
No, not 100%. I mean, it wasn't 100%,
And
but
that's
the
why
doctors,
he shouldn't have never said anything. That's why he shouldn't have did this to me. I've been through so much stress and anxiety
timelines
because
haven't
of
matched
what
up
this has happened.
based on the doctor.
You don't do that. I went to his house every summer.
Miss St. James says the last 6 months of her life have been hell because of her father. She says she's been throwing up every day, she can't eat, and is losing weight. And she's trying to balance all of this with raising an autistic son. She feels so bad that she thinks she might pass away from heartbreak, all because her father dropped the most shocking news on her through the phone. Horrific.
You felt like whether the relationship was good or bad, you knew that families go through ups and downs, but you believe you had your daddy and you knew who he was.
And my dad, and the letter that I wrote him had nothing to do with my childhood. He kept texting me, I'm gonna write you and tell you about, I said, why you wanna tell me about my childhood? I'm grown now, what are you talking about my childhood? I'm asking you why you're not in our lives today.
Mr. Esau has an interesting excuse to give. He says he told Miss St. James that he definitely wasn't her biological father and that he explained why to her. He says he didn't do it in a mean way and that 2 more men could possibly be her father. Interestingly, Miss St. James' mother never actually wavered on Mr. Esau being the father of her children, and he also paid child support his whole life, so this discovery isn't coming from her. Instead, it's straight from Mr. Esau. He must have a very good reason.
When her mom found out she was pregnant, were you told?
She told me yes.
And so take me back to that time.
Basically, she told me she was pregnant, and I'm like, okay. You're 18, you're like, okay, like, wow. You don't really know how to really react, but I was like, okay, wow, she's pregnant. And it wasn't until the doctor told her how far along she was, and doing the math, it was, before me. So it wasn't like she was cheating on me because we had just started. She was already pregnant.
Okay, but Mr. Esau continued to see Miss St. James's mother because they got married after Miss St. James was born and had another child. So the doubt was huge enough for Mr. Esau to drop this bomb on his daughter 33 years later, but not big enough to stop him from marrying her daughter? Incredible. Now Mr. Esau says his mom influenced his decision as well.
What's happening here?
One of the things also talking to my mom, and she explained the time frames. Okay, she sat down and talked to me and was like, okay, when did this happen? When did that happen? When did this happen?
And he probably told her whatever she needed to hear.
And what the doctor said.
All right, and your mother is here. I would like to hear from you, ma'am. Please stand. Step up to the podium and state your name for the court.
Helene Reese.
Ms. Reese, thank you for joining us today.
On the stand, Mr. Esau's mom, Helen Reese, says that Ms. St. James's mother and grandmother had told her about the pregnancy and told her when terminations are legal. She says that the time frames she was told assured her that her son was definitely not the father of Ms. St. James. Let's see what Mr. Kenneth Esau, Ms. St. James' brother, has to say about this.
Your entire life, were you ever told anything different, that your father was not your sister's biological father?
Through my whole life, I thought that Jasmine was my sister. We were the only ones that came from my mom and him, so that's all I've known, him being my father. So to get this news like this is just, it's hurting as far as, the allegations put upon my mother.
Well, there's only one real way to find out what the truth is, and that's by checking the DNA results.
Mr. Esau, you are not the father.
Can I give her a hug?
I can accept that.
And I'm sorry I waited so long. I mean, I've always taken responsibility for that talking to her, of not telling her. That was her right to know. And she should have been told a long time ago, not when she's 33 years old. You'll never understand how hard that is.
It truly is why we do this, because we want people to have the truth.
Mr. Robinson says Travares, Ms. Grant's son, doesn't belong to him, and he knows who the father is. He claims she pushed the child on him just to get child support and wants to get over $1,000 in child support he's already paid. He also says that his driver's license has been suspended and his tax return was taken because he owed child support. Ms. Grant, on the other hand, believes that the only reason Mr. Robinson is denying his son is because he was summoned to pay over $3,000 in child support.
You say that's not true, Ms. Grant?
My son never went around them.
Yes, he did.
Dexter did claim my child because I have proof here where he went to sign papers and everything.
Yeah, he did sign the paper, but he didn't sign the birth certificate.
I was in the hospital.
Well, you said you have proof.
Yes. He had the opportunity.
What is this paperwork?
That is where he signed and say that is his child, and he will pay $60 a month for his child.
This is an affidavit, an admission of paternity, which is basically an acknowledgement of paternity.
Well, the question now is, why? If you don't believe a child is yours, you really shouldn't sign a document saying you'll pay $60 per month for child support. That's how you get your driving license suspended and your tax returns taken. Another thing about paternity issues like this is that they usually end up in weird fights like this one.
You all met and you started a sexual relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long after that did you realize you were pregnant?
We started dating October the 7th, 1989. And
they were not never in a relationship.
Your Honor, yes, we are. And as a matter of fact, where was you in 1989 when we was together?
Well,
How did you know what was going on?
I'm with him now.
Dexter, I slept with you. I did not sleep with your wife. Could you please tell her?
It's been a couple of decades, and it looks like Mr. Robinson and Ms. Grant still have unfinished business to get through. Anyway, Ms. Grant is certain that Mr. Robinson is her child's father because they had intercourse in the back of his car, and afterward he told her she was pregnant. That's certainly an odd reason, but this is paternity court, and it's not the oddest thing we've heard.
It was different. I mean, yeah, prior to, I had a relationship with Eddie. I can't say it was a relationship. I slept with Eddie.
That doesn't mean he's the father.
If you having sex with somebody, how is that not meaning that he is the father?
Okay, when you having sex with two different men,
so wait,
with Eddie.
you having two.
Let me be clear. So you had sex with Mr. Robinson in the backseat of this car.
Yes.
Okay then, Ms. Grant. If you insist that it wasn't during the window of conception, we'll have to take your word for it, right? Anyway, we know that Mr. Robinson slept with Ms. Grant. We know that he acknowledged the paternity of the child. What we don't know is why and how he became doubtful.
What I want to understand is, you went up and you signed the acknowledgement of paternity. When did you become doubtful?
2 years ago, when this other man approached him and told him that he was the father.
When they
Mr. Robinson,
they had to pay $13,000, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Robinson, at some point after you signed this acknowledgement, someone came up to you and said, I'm
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Christian's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wow, that's insane. 20 years of support and all of that's gone in just a moment? There must be something else to this. This man must have given Mr. Robinson some hard-hitting evidence. That's the only way it worked.
This guy, Mr. Eddie, came and told me Montez was his son. But out of all this time, I really thought Montez was my son.
And then what happened after that?
Mr. Robinson came home and told me about it.
This man that they're claiming walked up to him and said, I'm really Mr. Christian's father. Do you know who this man is?
I do know him.
According to Ms. Grant, there's no chance that this man, Mr. Edison, is her son's father. But if there were no chance, what gave this man the audacity to claim Travares as his son? What evidence does he have?
We've heard testimony that says you approached Mr. Robinson at some point and said, I'm Mr. Christian's father.
Well,
did that happen?
No, that's a lie. He approached me. He came to me and he said, I heard that Montez was your son. I said, well, hey, man, hey, look, I didn't tell you to go up there and sign them papers. So that's on you. You know, I feel he is my son because of his mom approached me and said once.
So Mr. Edison says he had intercourse with Ms. Grant and that it was during the period that Travares was conceived. He also says that Ms. Grant once told him to go get his son out of the tree when Travares was stuck in it. Ms. Grant's reply to this is that where's Mr. Edison been all this while if he truly believes the boy is his son?
Age of 14, my child? I mean, apparently y'all don't know who he is, so where you been all this time?
Well,
if you claiming to be the father and say, I said at the age of 7 or 8 that he was your child, so why it took you that long to come in and respond to him, and now all of a sudden you saying that he's your child? Where is my support?
Well, hey, look,
I mean, seriously.
I mean,
So who's the bad person
well,
here?
you told me it wasn't mine.
And my point exactly.
So
I told you he wasn't yours.
Yeah, when you
I
said
never told you.
Well, it's time to figure out who the bad person is and see whether Mr. Robinson has been paying child support for his son or another person's child all this while. The answer might shock you.
Mr. Eddie Ellis, you are not the father. Mr. Dexter Robinson, you are not the father.
There's nobody else?
There has to be at least one more. And I know that's a long time to think back. I think you got some thinking to do. You have an amazing young man here. It's about finding out the answers for your child. He deserves that.
Well, Ms. Grant, there's someone else. Your son wasn't immaculately conceived, and you are not the Virgin Mary.
Mr. Robinson, Ms. Robinson, I need to inform you that there is no guarantee that you will be released from your obligation to pay those arrears, because under the law, when you sign that acknowledgement of paternity voluntarily, you're responsible. Are you all right, Mr. Christian?
Yes, ma'am, I'm fine. I'm a grown man now.
I moved on with life. It hurt, like for Eddie not to be my father.